There we go. Hey, folks. How you doing this evening? Paranormal Roundtable. I'm your host, Josh Turner. With me today is my host, Truff. I call him Truff. His real name is Truffle, or Truffles. He is a Julianne pig. Hey, little piggy, aren't you? She's a little piggy bee. What are you, baby? Little piggy baby? So, Josh Turner at PRTpodcast.com, Josh Turner at PRTpodcast.com, Patreon.com/PRTpodcast. Let me tell you something, folks. Send me your information, your stories, whatever, your wild stories, whatever, to my email, JoshTurner at PRTpodcast.com. Also, you can friend me on Facebook, but for the love of all that is holy, can you please just let me know that you're a listener of the show? I got about 100 and some, what is it, like 100 different people, Anthony, at this point? And I got to go through every one of them. Are you a listener to PRT? And most of them say, yeah. And, you know, and I love to unfriend people because I like to keep it, you know, that aren't you guys, that aren't the paratroopers. So we talked a little bit about getting a jersey made. That prototype should be ready by the next time we have the show. It was ready today, but they didn't get to do the quality control on it yet. So that'll be, we'll be unveiling that coming up. I thought about it too, and it's going to be, this is a prototype. We're thinking about just having the word paratroopers on the front, and then just having the logo on one side, and then the number on the other.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, and then you can have your name stitched on the back. You go do that yourself. Yeah. So we can't do all that customization. So this little guy is another stowaway. Do you want to tell the story, Anthony, or do you want me to? Because I'm all storied out with this one.
Well, I mean, I'm good at making a long story short.
Yeah, do that. That's what you got to do. Okay,
so we got Truffles here from a bull riding show. We went to a professional bull riding show, and we had a lot of fun. And there was this lady there who was carrying them around, and she was actually giving them away.
She was the one that was carrying them around.
The lady that was carrying them around, she just had them.
Mike's wife.
Yeah. I mean, she had Truffles there, and she let us hold them and pet them, but there was this lady there who was giving them away, and so we hung out with him and pet him for the duration of the bull riding show, and we were going to give him back because we have a house full of animals already, Lord knows, but Wolf and Ellie overheard the lady who brought them having a conversation about how if nobody takes them, then they're just going to sell them to a Mexican restaurant.
Yeah.
And, like, we had already made friends with them at that point. I mean, yeah, I eat bacon and pork chops too, but just, I don't know, we just couldn't give him back knowing that he was just going to be turned into a pulled pork sandwich.
Yeah, so, well, he wouldn't be a pulled pork sandwich. He'd probably be carnitas or el pastor. But the bottom line is, in good faith, I just couldn't bring myself to do it. So we took him to the vet, and they said that he'll probably be anywhere from 40 to 100 pounds. It's not real big. I mean, he's not going to get gigantic like a lot of these people get a pig, and it just turns into a 300-pound monster. But it all depends on how much you feed him and what you feed him. So he's a little bit sleepy. He was asleep before we left the house, and we wanted to show everybody. People had asked me about it because I had taken some pictures. And we have Bean. You want to show Bean? She's over there. They have become best friends, and so he gets real unnerved if she's not right there next to him, and they sleep right next to each other. And our other dog, Elvira's kind of taken to him. They've became friends, and they play. And they've all just, turned into a big family. Yesterday we had the rabbits out, and we'll bring them at some point, and we haven't even named them. And so those rabbits are very cool. They're very docile. They were bred at Texas A&M, and so everybody was just jumping around playing. Our little piggy here has learned to be very much like a dog. He's only a couple months old. He's 4 pounds right now. He's very tiny. If you can see him. And we have Noah's Ark going on.
Yep, and we still have birds coming as well. So
Tony's getting a bird, and I bought a bird, and that was before I knew that we were going to get this dude and rabbits. So now I have a bird.
Yeah, and we have 110-gallon fish tank that we're recycling, waiting to stock with fish, and then I have a small fish tank in my room that I'm going to put bait in.
Those things were planned. This was not planned at all. So I'm going to let him sleep for a minute, folks. So here's what we got going on tonight. I got a guest coming on that everybody's familiar with, but he's got some very, 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 very interesting information. I was on the phone with him today. We were hashing it out and what we were going to talk about. Gosh, I don't even know where to begin with that. But before we get started with that, folks, like I always say, donations are not expected, but they are appreciated. And especially now that I'm Jeff Corwin, we're going to definitely. But if you feel it in your heart that we do a good job or whatever, then feel free to please donate. If not, then feel free to please don't. Okay? If you don't think you can afford it, don't put yourself out.
If you still want to support us in some other way, you can always also subscribe to our Patreon.
Yeah.
We appreciate everyone who does that, and we're excited to eventually get going a show that we'll especially do for the Patreon members.
Yeah, but we got to get some more in there.
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing. If you're a $20 tier Patreon member, you get a swag bag, which is what we call it. I don't know what else to call it. It sounds kind of silly, whatever. But it's swag. We'll give you some swag. And then, of course, we do the giveaways every show, which we're going to do again tonight. We're going to do hoodies again tonight because winter's going to be ending in a few weeks. And so your last chance to get some hoodies. And then we're going to spin a wheel and everybody, like we did last week, and we're going to have some winners. I mailed everything out yesterday. So 10 people should be getting stuff. That was for the last 2 shows. And then if you were chosen, if you got missed and something happens and you don't get your stuff and then a couple weeks go by, hit me up. Let me know so I can take care of you. I want to take care of my fans. I want to take care of you. 2 books I'm writing, okay? I know it was weird. It turned into 2. About a third of the way through one and over half of the way through the other. But I think that I will have one done by the beginning of, or by the middle of spring. The other one will be done probably by middle of summer. And they'll be ready, hopefully, for sale by the conference. The conference is Labor Day weekend. It's a Friday night for the VIP, and then it's a Saturday and a Sunday. So we hope you can make it. It's an all-weekend thing. I've already got the big guys coming. I got Nick Redfern signed on, La Blackburn, Ken Gerhardt, David Weatherly, Barton Nunley, my main guys.
Most of the guys that came last time.
Yeah, it'll be everybody from last year. Yeah. I think Ron Murphy's already agreed. But this year you'll see some new faces too. Now Steve Stockton, I'm going to try and get him to make it since he was sick with COVID last year. Josh Nonocchio from What Lurks Beneath, he's a pal of mine. He's coming. Haven't got the okay from Tony yet. I don't know about Tony Merkel. I barely spoke to him about a month ago. And then I'd like to get a few other people involved. Ron Moorhead agreed to go. Sibylla Irwin's going to be there. She's really good. Jessica Jones, Dark Waters had said yeah, but that was a couple months back. I got to get back and make sure that he's going to be on board because he's always got something going on. So yeah, all the people from last year plus a plethora of other speakers. So that's why it's going to be a 2.5-day event.
Yeah, just
okay,
bigger
folks.
And better.
Mm-hmm. And then tickets are going to be $50, $100 for VIP. But VIP, you get the special dinner of the first night. And you get to meet all the speakers and get a little time with them before you get the big bunch of people the next day. And then the VIP gets an autographed poster of everybody's signature on there, and you get a free T-shirt. And a couple other things, too, we're going to throw in. But that we haven't decided how we're going to break it down. But it'll be worth your while, believe me. And it's going to be Dogman Cryptid Con. So, 2. So everybody is like going to all these other conferences. Whatever, dude. These other conferences, they don't compare to what we're doing. All right, that's not gonna. I'm not talking trash. I'm just saying they're not gonna compare. I'm gonna tell you right now. Last year was an epic conference. It's gonna be again. Okay, save your money to go to this one. This is where you want to be. Okay, we're gonna have the catered barbecue. Same thing as last year. So thank you for this donation. Let's see if I can get my glasses without waking this little dude, making him squeal.
Fat Sasquatch 94. Thank you for the $50. Thank you, Grace W, for the $10. I'm looking forward to the books, and I hope I'll be able to make it to the conference this year. Last year was so much fun.
Grace, and we enjoyed having you. You're a good person to be there. You were very nice and kind, and everybody that was there was nice and kind. There was only one creepy weirdo that was wandering around, and I don't know why that person showed up, but
well, you hired me to do the door security.
well, that was it. I was just kind of aggravated though that you actually came. I was hoping you'd opt out.
Oh, well.
No such luck. So anyway, let's get started. I got a couple weird stories to talk about, and work calls, and so these two got to go into work in the morning. Can you believe that? And I may have to work Sunday. Can't never rest. So we're gonna get started with the stories here. I guess Truffle's gonna hang out. You gonna hang out? Huh? You gonna hang out with Daddy? All right. So, and I'm not one of these people who's like, this is my child. I gave birth to this child. And yes, men can give birth. I'm not one of these people, folks. All right. No,
we don't call them fur babies.
He's not my little fur baby. He's just a little dude that, was going to be eaten. So we took him. Because I'm not lying. When I went to collect my earnings, because I bought a cowboy. I know it sounds weird, but there's the Calcutta is what they call it. And you can go on there and you can buy the cowboy. The guy that I had was Diego Salgado. He's number 7 in the world. And I saw him ride at Scruggs. Since I've been going to Scruggs since I was a kid. So I met this guy, Mike Seeley. He's now my insurance agent. Great guy. Him and his wife, Pam. Gracious host. They put on an event in Bell County. And they said, hey, come down. Watch the bull riding on Saturday. And I went there as their guest. And it was awesome. And so I picked Diego and Diego Salgado, who came in, number 1 and number 2, right?
Yep.
And so my Cowboys won, and then the team I chose, which was, I can't remember the name of it. I picked a team that had, that had a history, and I so anyway, I went to go collect my earnings, which was pretty cool. And I was like, hey, well, let's put him back in the truck. And that's when I heard that they were going to be actually selling them to a restaurant. And I thought that there's no way I'm going to let that. I can't do that. I don't know what I'm going to do with this dude, but I can't just. And he was the runt. His brothers and sisters are all twice his size, literally. They're probably about 10-pound pigs, and he's this little 4-pound thing. And he's itty bitty little dude, and he got itty bitty little hooves. I don't know if you could see him.
Little skittish feller.
He's a little skittish. There he is. His head is big and his body's real little. He's all head, right? He's got the big head. He's a big head running around, aren't you? Yeah, you are. So anyway, enough about the pig. Look, here's the thing. I wanted to do a show, and now here I'm going to announce this, and it's not going to start this week. It's going to start next week. And it's really odd because we flip-flopped. We started out doing the Tuesdays where was the live stream. But you remember before the live stream, it was just the 1-hour episodes, right?
Yep, we did those every Friday.
And you dropped them every Friday. Well, now we're doing the live stream. It was on Tuesday, and then we moved it to Friday. And so now the Friday is now become the Tuesday. So Friday is the live stream, and so what we're going to do is we're going to fill your Tuesdays with an hour-long audio episode. We're going to go back to it because everybody's just demanding it. Go and check it out. Not this Tuesday, but expect there to be a drop on next Tuesday.
That way,
right? We're going to do hour-long?
That way it could just, match people's times more, though, also.
Yeah. So you do the hour-long episode. We're going to drop it like 7, 8 at night on Tuesday, and you'll have something to do before you go to bed. You can be scared and not sleep. And then Friday, we're going to do the live stream like normal. Okay, so that being said, expect that to start not this Tuesday, but next Tuesday. We got a lot of work right now, and work is it's hard, and it's hard getting off to be able to do this. And the donations make it possible for us to be able to sit up here and do this. Hey, Beanie. Hey, Beanie Weenie. Chill out. Chill out, dude. Anyway, and she's getting used to the pig. She's like, they're friends. They hang out. So
yeah, they sleep together all the time.
Yeah, so they sleep right next to each other. And then Elvira, she'll lay with him for a little bit, and then she'll jump up and get away from him. And then Martis always wants to be in our room too. That's my cat. And I'll tell you what, those bunny rabbits are the sweetest bunny rabbits. They're the most docile, most friendly little rabbits. They are so cool, dude. Yeah.
Soft as heck.
You let them out, and then they play with the dogs, the cats, and they just run around. It's fun. It's a good time. It's really fun to watch. But anyway, we've gotten them all taken to the vet. Banjo is a little sedated today. He had to go to the vet yesterday and get 8 teeth pulled.
Yeah,
poor little dude, because Tony didn't take care of him. So he's getting older.
Teeth.
He's getting older and he's getting bad teeth. But he's
fortunately, they were saying that some of those teeth were like fragments that were already broken off. Mm-hmm. So they were saying those were in there for a while.
Okay, well, enough about your pet. Anyway, the bottom line is he had to go and get taken care of, and we took him to the vet yesterday. They gave him a clean bill of health. She's good. Everybody's good. Vet bills are expensive, but we're taking care of animals. We didn't plan for hardly any of these. It just kind of happened. The bird and the fish were planned. Everything else just kind of happened. So it is what it is. When God puts things in your path, you have to do what's right. I believe that. And this guy was almost like a test, and I really wanted to put him back in the truck. And I was like, let's put him back in the truck. But when you hear somebody saying that, you're like, well, I can't do it.
Can't get rid of free pork like that.
Oh my gosh, shut up. Oh man. So here's what I'm going to start with, folks. Have you ever been in your house? And then this happened to me recently. That's why I told Neil, I said, I'm going to go back in the archives. I'm going to do this. Have you lost something and you thought, there's no way in hell that I lost that? No way. No way, Jose. You're going like, where did this go? Have you ever done that? Here's a weird one. Have you ever dropped a nickel or a dime or something on the ground and then you never find it? It rolls off into the abyss and you're like,
Yeah, my room at the apartment used to be like that.
Yeah. Well, here's what's weird. I had a shelf with some figurines that fell in my room, and they fell to the back of the. So I thought when we moved, which we still have that apartment, but my brother's staying in that old room, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna find it when we move. Then when we go to move, those figurines were gone. I mean, that is a weird thing, folks. I'm not lying. It was weird. We never found them.
I remember because I helped you clean that shelf.
Yeah, and then some of them were behind there.
Yeah, I remember you asking like, "Oh, where are the Spider-Man ones?" And I was like, well, maybe they just fell further back." We searched the entire room; they were just gone.
They're gone. Yeah. They just disappeared. Now, of course, they're catty corner from the key, which is now also MIA. Since we moved in, we don't know where the key is at. We're supposing that it's going to pop up somewhere. Now, Anthony says he threw it away. So, folks, if that key has been thrown away and then it pops back up in the house, I mean, I'm going to give you an update on it. Believe me, I'm going to tell you. But it's for now, the key is gone. We don't know where it's at. It's disappeared. If you don't know what the key is, go back and watch the episode called Cursed Object, Haunted Object. What is it?
I think it's called Cursed Objects.
Yeah, I think you named it Haunted Objects. You need to go back and change that.
Something
and
like
also
that.
the Bible theology one you need to change too, because that one sounds boring, but it's not. If you go and listen to it, but it's not. But it just sounds boring. But okay, so what I'm going to tell you right now is you're not crazy. So I'm going to give you some stories of some people who maybe thought that they were crazy because they lost some objects. Dennis is the first guy I'm going to talk about, and that's his real name. But anyway, Dennis told me a story about when he was a kid. And this one is really weird. His dad, back in 1965, they were living right outside of Memphis, Tennessee. Okay, and his dad would work with metal, and he would make knives and hatchets and all kinds of stuff, and he would make them for people. Now, for whatever reason, him and his dad were really, really close. He was one of 6 children. 3 of which didn't make it. Okay, very sad. There were 2 twins that were born before him, and they were born like they didn't make it at birth, whatever. And then there was another one. He had a brother that passed away from an illness. So when he was born, it was like a blessing. He came along, whatever. And so for a while, after he was born the same year I was. His dad put on hold all of his hobbies and work and whatever and just doted on him. And then later on, 2 more children. He had 2 sisters that were born after that. But they all attest to this. This really happened. And they were driving along one day, and I'm getting ahead of myself. So what happened was Dennis's dad had made this hatchet, and he had engraved it, and it was big. It was like a big hatchet. Like it was very, it was like this metal, big black metal, and he had an engraving on there, and he had set it on his work table in the whatever. And just set it there, and then the next day he comes out to finish working on it, to finish the engraving, and it's gone. It just disappeared. Fast forward 20 years. Dennis is coming from a baseball game, he said. Okay, and at this point he had 2 little sisters. 20 years, he's a 10-year-old kid, 10 going on 11, he said. Him and his dad are driving back through Tennessee down a country road, okay, coming from the baseball game. And as weird as this sounds, now his dad's deceased, but I did talk to him and one of his sisters, and I believe him. They see this creature walking across the road close to their house that they were living at the time. Now, the house where Dennis had done the metalworking was about 2 or 3 miles from the house that they were living in at the time when this happened. So it's in the same area. Okay, and I believe it's called East Memphis, or is it called East? It's East Memphis, right? Anyway, so they see this creature walking. It's a grayish colored creature. They couldn't tell if it was just dirty looking, if it was actually white, and it just had really dirty fur. But it looked like a goat. But not a goat so much as the horns were curved, kind of like a ram's horns or whatever. And they said that one of the horns looked like it was broken on one side, and they got a real good look at it. It was broad daylight. And slung over its shoulder was a strap, and it was holding in its right hand a hatchet. I kid you not, dude. They slowed down. They took a good look at it, and his dad said, "Oh, my gosh, that's mine." 20 years before, this thing had gone missing. And his wife had said that her and her friend were out in the yard. They had a little garden at that time. And they had seen a creature that looked like as she called it, a ram or goat-headed looking creature that was tromping through the woods. But it was just covered in fur. And it had something slung over its back. So I thought, can you imagine if you were making something, if you were working on something, and then it just went missing suddenly, 20 years later, to almost it was about a month to the day, you are driving back with your son in baseball, and you see that hatchet being carried by Goatman. That is a crazy story. Now, his dad said, he goes, "Dude, that was absolutely my hatchet." And there was the day that his hatchet went missing, it wasn't like just that was missing, nothing else. No, some other stuff had gone missing prior to that. Like he had an axe, a big one, that he was working on, and he had started locking it. So he said, I don't know how somebody got in there unless they were magical. And so I said, maybe he was from Narnia. Trying to be funny, but, it's a weird story. The guy's like, I swear this really happened. I was 10 years old. I remember it. His little sister, she was born 3 years after him. She was 7. She was in the back of the car. I guess that was it. It was just him and the other. So they had another little sister, but she was like 3 or something. She wasn't there. But they saw this goat-headed looking creature. It's huge. So it was about 8 feet tall. And this hatchet, whatever, it was like almost like the half of an axe. It was a huge hatchet, like a two-handed deal, And it was just carrying it like nothing. And here's the really messed up thing. One of the neighbors had one of their animals basically torn apart, but not shredded apart, but like cut, and all they found was the head of the calf that was left. Like somebody had cut it and then and literally had taken it apart and taken it. Now, the neighborhood gardens were being looted at that time too. So the question is, was this goat-headed, ram-headed being the thief, or was it a coincidence? Was it just a coincidence that he was walking along and they saw this creature carrying this axe? Now, you can tell me what you think in the comments section. I don't know. It is very weird. It's a very weird story. Now, that wasn't the only sighting of that creature. Now, that was their only sighting, but they had a cousin that came over, and their dad was, they talked really highly of him. He was a really good guy, and he had literally paid a bunch of money to cement a slab and put a basketball goal up for him because their cousins lived down the road, and the cousins would come over and they would play basketball and do stuff, whatever. And so one day, Dennis had gone inside, and these cousins or whatever were out playing basketball, and they saw what looked like something come up to the tree line, and there was like a fence right there, but they could see it clearly, and they said it was snarling, and it looked like a goat-headed type creature with big rows of sharp teeth. Now, goats don't have big rows of sharp teeth, but some sort of chimeric, demonic-looking, Goatman probably would. I mean, I'm speculating here because I didn't see it and I've never seen one. I don't know any, I don't know how to, I just know people tell me or people tell us. So you weigh in. I mean,
well, I think the fact that it left the cow's head there is proof that even Goatman knows head cheese is disgusting.
My brother made good head cheese. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, like, it's weird that they found the axe again, but I was wondering if instead, what if the Goatman attacked the person who stole the axe? Like they found, like someone else came by, grabbed the axe, and Goatman attacked him and also grabbed the axe from him. So then it's just a traveling axe, and then it's a story like that. I'm just saying, like, I just find it, like, it's just a weird situation entirely that out of everything to steal, out of everything to take, that weapons, or I think it's more like it takes things that hold really deep value, maybe. I was wondering if it was something like that when you first started the story about something going missing, because I was expecting it to be like keys or something miscellaneous that like you don't really think about, but something like that like those two things in particular, something that he was working on and personally engraving and spent a lot of time on, like you knew he specifically cared about those.
Well, and that axe was something that he was making for somebody who I think it was his like best friend. His best friend had ordered it for his uncle's birthday, and I mean I guess so he knew the guy's his best friend's uncle too. They were good friends. So anyway, he was making it for somebody.
Okay, I thought he was like it was a personal axe for him. So that's why.
No, it was a gift, and he was almost done with it. And he worked on his dad did the same thing. He but he didn't do that. That wasn't his main job. That was like a hobby that his dad had passed down to him.
So it just grab random stuff then, whatever maybe it was laying around.
Maybe he just took it out of utility because the Goatman wouldn't need an axe to kill somebody. Maybe he just took it to use it as a tool. He just happened to be there. And
yeah. So
then do we think he definitely killed the calf with that? The axe?
Do I think that he killed the calf?
Well, I mean,
well, of course, everybody knows Goatman goes around killing things with axes. I don't know.
I'm saying that's why I said, do you think? Is like, do we
statistically shows that 9 times out of 10 when a calf dies, Goatman killed it with an axe.
Well, only if it's head
90% of the time. It's been statistically proven.
According to my data, I've taken a poll, and they've said that every time they've seen a head lying around, it's because of Goatman.
Because of Goatman, yeah. That's,
if you want to be right about everything you say, you just have to put a new study shows in front of whatever you say, and then people will believe it.
There you go. A new study shows from the Institute of Goatman Killings that he is responsible for all the killings of the people and things that are missing body parts.
Well, sounds believable to me.
When you go completely missing, it's Bigfoot. When you've been chewed apart, it's Dogman. Everybody knows that. So here's
you
the
don't
thing.
Make the rules.
Did I say I made the rules? I didn't say I'm not making the rules as I go along, man. Pretty crazy. So my wife just told me they're out of everything. I don't even know what that means. Or text her when y'all find out what the heck that means. So anyways, well, what are you doing, buddy? You're slipping. You're slipping.
He's gonna start squealing if he feels like he's slipping.
They only squeal when you pick them up off the ground.
Yeah.
They don't like to be picked up off the ground.
Well, as long as their feet are touching something, they feel they're pretty much.
Yeah.
Their weight is so concentrated that if they fall from any height, it could be fatal. Or,
Yeah, that's why they know
it's like
they're
instinct.
smart. These things are smarter than dogs.
Yeah.
So he's smart. He knows. He's like, I can't be falling. I can't be jumping from heights. So here's another story about things going missing. Okay, and then I'm going to bring my guest on, and we're going to talk about this. And this is weird. I mean, it's all weird. It's not like it's not. But this was a Bigfoot type story, and I got another one. There's a couple of them. What time do we got here? What is it?
9:15.
9:15. We'll get back to those, okay? Because this may take a little while. So shout out to Merritt. She's in the group chat. Do a shout out to all the ladies at the veterinarian office. My wife just reminded me. Thank you, ladies at the veterinarian, for doing that. We're going to get right into it with our guest because he has a lot to talk about. And we have a lot to talk about. And you guys are going to want to ask some questions, okay?
It's always fun to have him on. So
yeah, and he's somebody you guys will recognize. He's a fan favorite. So let's get him on and let's get started with this because we got some really crazy information to give you. And then I'll go back to those Bigfoot, goblin, whatever. So I'll be right back, folks. Give me 1 second so I can get comfortable here. So he's getting himself comfortable down there. He's gonna go to sleep. I think so. All right. So anyway, go ahead and set it up if you want to, Anthony. Why does the chat say 0? We have 380 people in there.
Is it on your messenger or what?
Yeah. Could just type his name in. Let me do it.
Yeah.
There it is. We'll give him a shot right here. Let's see what happens. Oh, I can't hear anything. Folks at home, let me know if you can hear him.
Hello.
Hey, what's going on, my man? Can you hear me? I don't think he can hear me.
Oh, there you go.
All right, hang on. Let me look at this here.
Hold on 1 second, Barton. If you can hear me, just hang on 1 second.
Can you hear us, Barton?
I can't read that. I can't do that right now. You could send that to me, to mine. We're trying to get something's going on with the audio. I don't know what's going on. Why, whenever we have to talk about something important, something happens? That's not it. People are saying they can't hear me now. I can't hear Barton at all. I don't know why. This is a simple thing. It shouldn't be like this.
Barton, are you there? Try this. All right, Barton, can you hear us now? Because we can't hear you.
That's great.
All right, let's see. See if we can.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yep.
Can you hear me, Barton?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, perfect.
Folks at home, can you hear us? Let me see what they say. They say, I hear Josh, not Barton. I can hear you both. I hear Wolf. Yes. Okay. So say something else, Barton.
Hello, paratroopers.
There we go. All right.
Okay, yeah.
So, folks, this is Barton Nunley. If you're not up to the snuff on what's going on, you've been living in a cave. No pun intended. We're talking about caves. Barton is the author of Mysterious Kentucky 1 and 2 and also Inhumanoids, really great book. And he's also working on his book, The Spotsville Monster, which I'm excited and waiting to get for that to come out. Now, Barton and me have been buddies for a while now. Barton, first thing I want to ask you.
Yeah.
Do you recognize this shirt?
I sure do. It was one of my favorite bands from the 1980s.
Yeah, it's the Trooper.
I was live one time. Yeah, the Trooper.
Yeah. That song's about the Crimean War. A lot of people don't know that. So,
right?
Iron Maiden, yeah. So, Barton, we got lots to talk about. So you had a guy reach out to you, and you subsequently put it on your, after y'all talked, you put it on your channel, and we'll get to that in a minute. But this guy gave you some pretty crazy information about the LBL, right?
Right. Oh yeah, really sensational.
Really.
And after 20 years of researching, we're finally getting some answers about that place. And I guess patience is a virtue, and it's kind of paid off this time.
Yeah.
Because this man is a scientist, and he's been doing field work down in the LBL, as well as Mammoth Cave National Park for over 40 years now. So yeah, and he's been waiting 20 to talk to me because he's been under funding, and he wasn't allowed to talk about anything like this. But now he's not under funding anymore. He reached out to me, sent me this lengthy letter, and really it was kind of hard to believe what I was reading when I read that letter. I had to call him up immediately and find out, if he was for real, and vet the letter and the names and everything that he put in that letter. And he's the real deal. And so I know there's a lot of people blowing smoke about the LBL now. I don't follow any of these people. I don't watch any of their stuff, but I hear it almost every day. Have you watched this one's channel, that one's channel? And they're saying this and that. And, mostly it's BS. So if you want to find some answers, some real answers, come on over to Inhumanoids with Barton Nunley and check out my last video. And this scientist confirmed a lot of the suspicions that some people have had about what's been going on down there in LBL. So, yeah.
And one of the things I wanted to do tonight, because I have some questions for you. Now, if people don't know what the LBL is, what is it? 170,000 acres. That's what the guy's story. The story that he sent you. Yeah, it's 170,000 acres, and it used to be called the land between the rivers. Now it's called the land between the lakes, and there is a lot of weird stuff that goes on there. Now I've heard all kinds of weird statistics. I don't know if they're all true. I hear that a lot of people go missing in that area. We've had stories of just a bunch of different stories. People, park rangers seeing people getting killed and eaten by werewolves. I mean, it's
Right.
crazy. Yeah, we had a guy on here on the show too, and he's been interviewed by multiple people, and he claims that he witnessed it, and of course, we this whole crazy story that's been going around, the whole Jan Thompson, and you now, Barton, you were the one that kind of broke that story originally, right?
Right. Well, Jan had written the story on a website called Guardian's Tales. I think it was in 2000 or 2001, and it was really a sensational story. And John Johnson and I were planning on doing a documentary, and so we thought, well, let's just go down to the land between the lakes and do a documentary on this Dogman instead of another, Bigfoot documentary. There's a million of those out, but back then, hardly anyone even believed that Dogman existed, But through this scientist, I was able to verify that the story was around a lot longer, long before Jan wrote it down in 2000. And also through this man, I was able to contact a witness that actually had an encounter with one of these things back in 1948, which is 15 years before the government presence there in LBL. So a lot of things that video confirms, a lot of questions that it answers. Now, this fellow, he's never seen a Dogman or a Bigfoot in LBL, but he has found a lot of unusual structures there. He did see Bigfoot in the Mammoth Cave National Park in 1995, and that's how I initially contacted this man. Of course, I didn't remember it. I've talked to so many people. It was 20 years ago, and I reached out to him about his sighting in the Mammoth Cave National Park, but he wasn't free to reply to me until now. So I'm just glad that he remembered that, I was out there and looking for answers, and I, still was looking for answers when he contacted me 20 years later.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people talking a lot of stuff about LBL, but no one is providing any answers at all, or almost no one. So, yeah.
But then again, Barton, there are reasons for that, too. It's just like what was going on at Yosemite, which we talked a little bit about today, me and you. We didn't have a real long conversation because we had things to do, but we spoke about that. And then what was going on at Yellowstone, which is another, folks, I'm not trying to be an alarmist, and I'm not over here going like, hey, I want to be, we're not trying to scare you. I'm not here to try to, there's lots of stories that could scare you. This is just information, but there's something going on in our national parks, and it's not just, like with the 411 or whatever. There is something going on, really going on, and it is really weird, and I am of the opinion that it's nefarious. I got a report last week of Smoky Mountain National Park. Somebody saying that there was a disappearance there. It's gone unreported. They're trying to downplay it, blah, blah, blah. And then you get the level of attacks on people by so-called dogs, is just off the chain. Every week you're hearing about another person being attacked or killed by dogs. And then they never do produce these said dogs, with the exception of a couple of cases. And it's really weird what's going on. Now, some people could say it's biblical because, the beasts of the earth and all that. But there is something going on here. Now, one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about, this guy was talking about how they have allowed the foliage to overgrow in the last, 30 years or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it has gone from 80% foliage to like 95%. It's been overgrown. Wow. Now, I had a baby pig here, right next to me. I never thought in a million years I'd have a pig, but I do. But speaking of pigs, they are very prevalent now in the LBL, and they, according to your contact, were released as a food source, an alternative food source, because these creatures have to eat something, and they would rather them eat the pigs than eat us. Well, they probably love to have them eat me and you, but I'm talking about the normal people that go out there.
Well, it's not like I'm not giving them an opportunity, as many times I'm down at LBL. So, but they're not taking it. They're not taking me up on it. But what happened, brother, was in 2009, the LBL, the deer population of the LBL was stricken by something called chronic waste disease. And it's decimated the deer population there. And suddenly, we have introduction of feral hogs there. And is it happenstance that coincidence that it happened just as the main food source for these apex predators, the deer, which was the population of the deer was decimated with this chronic waste disease. So they brought in some hogs and then turned around and went on the news and said, hey, if we catch anybody, whoever's bringing in these hogs in the LBL, we're going to prosecute you to the fullest extent of the law, knowing damn well it was them themselves that did that. So it's all a PR stunt. Yeah, they have introduced the feral hogs. According to my contact, and I've seen several people ask for his name, I'm not at liberty to give anyone his name. He's still a scientist. He's still in LBL at least once or twice a week. He still does his work, his field biology work, and he doesn't want anything to do with this crazy cryptid world. But yeah, that's what happened. And he sent me pictures of hog cages that had no triggers and no bait. So
they're just there. Yeah, look at it.
Right.
And the weird thing is, it coincides with what happened here in Texas. There was this explosion. I mean, just explosion of hogs that were never. I mean, when I was a kid, yeah, there were a few, but not like it is now. And I'm living in an area that a lot of people, researchers, consider to be a hotbed of dogman activity. It's everywhere in this region. Right. And all of a sudden, there's all these pigs. I mean, I talked about it when we did the Hernandez Ranch on DER. It was like they had hogs everywhere, all over the place. And one of the things that, you guys, of course, know, what was it with Jerry, his pseudonym, we worked with him. And one of the things that him and his brothers told us, and y'all know this, Tony and Anthony, that these hogs seemed like they came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing about hogs too is that they kind of, I may be wrong about this, but I don't believe they have like a strict mating period. I think they can mate all year round, so they kind of work as a perfect food source because they can breed nonstop and keep creating and just kind of infest the local populace. So
right, you're right, Mushu.
But according to what Jerry told us and his uncles and everybody, they said that it kind of like. It was like around the 80s, and it just when they really just exploded. And then, of course, that was when all that activity with the Dogman activity ramped up. Now, there was a lot of Bigfoot activity that had been going on. There was kind of a lull there. There was like this Dogman activity, and then it kind of died out, and then it just popped back up. And then next thing you know, there's just hogs everywhere. And it was kind of weird. And we had that conversation with those gentlemen. They worked with us at a construction place that we were doing security for. And me and Scorpion and Anthony and Tony and my brother, we all got to know them pretty well. What's crazy, though, when I was doing the investigation with those guys is, when they were pointing these things out, and then I was sitting there looking at these parallels that this guy, when he wrote you that letter, and we talked about it, and I thought, dude, this is... I don't believe in coincidences, first of all. And I don't think this is a coincidence that these things are also built over cave systems like the Mammoth Cave System. And now where we're living at right here, from here to San Antonio, from here to all the way up to Belton, it's just caves. I mean, there's a bunch of caves. We have interspace caverns. We have what's it called? Wonder in San Marcos.
Natural Bridge. And
then we have Natural Bridge up in San Antonio near Schertz. And of course, we all, what was it, a couple Christmases ago with your brother Adrian, Anthony, we all went out there and we went into those caves, and we took the tour and did all that. There's a couple of them that are off limits too. You can't go into them. It's like the Grand Canyon. There's like 110 of them, 110 caves. You can only go into like 20 of them or something. Right. It's really weird. It's a really weird thing. And when you're looking at a species of creature that could come, like I believe, from the inner earth. Okay. So I had somebody that's been messaging me and kind of being a smarty, and I know this guy. He's not a troll. He's just kind of a little jerk. And but he's been messaging me, and Barton, you may even actually know him, but he asked me this question. He says, "So are they from the government, or are they from Inner Earth?" And so the simple answer for me is both. I don't know where. I know their origin, I believe, is the Inner Earth. I do believe that.
The question is like when they intermingled with the government and started like becoming
government shadow government agencies. I'm not talking about your average government. I'm saying these white vans that people see or black vans over here. Who are these people? And like what is their reasoning behind this? Like what happened to Joe Barger? Who's a mutual friend of mine and Barton's, and he supposedly, I say allegedly, let's say that, killed one of these things. Then they came and they harassed the crap out of them. That happens to a lot of people. These whoever they are kind of like the Men in Black. When somebody sees a UFO, they're like, "You didn't see that. You didn't see an alien. You didn't see that. You didn't see this didn't happen." And that's been kind of happening to people. And now we've been trying to go through and talk to our contact that lives adjacent to the Hernandez Ranch, and we're having a hard time because he's been getting kind of harassed, and so he's kind of reluctant to come forward and talk about more of what's been going on because he's still living there on that land, whereas most of the others have moved out into other places and they've partitioned it off. But he doesn't really want to talk about this stuff. And I can't remember what I called him in the show, the pseudonym or whatever. So I don't want to get those confused. So I don't want to say his name. But he had nothing to do with their business with the construction. He has his own business, but his brother shot one of these things. And that was one of the updates that we were working on, me and Tony and Anthony, about talking to him about this, what happened with his brother. His brother was kind of a loose cannon, and when he did, guess what? A lot of official-looking people showed up and started asking a lot of questions. Where did you shoot it? Where on the body did you shoot it? Why did you shoot it? And blah, 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 blah. And so when his brother, who's the guy that I talked to, one of the people that I talked to who owned land adjacent to Hernandez Ranch, he called the sheriff's department. The sheriff's department came out there. They didn't know these people. But when they were taken off to the side, they were told to basically go away. And so they did. But both parties departed, and the sheriff's department basically told them, we're not at liberty to tell you who they are. Okay, we can't really do anything. One of those deputy sheriffs he grew up with. Okay, so, and this is a guy who had his own encounter with these dogmen. He was knocked off of a horse. I talked about it in one of the episodes about the Hernandez Ranch on DER. He was knocked off of his horse, and he fired at this thing with a pistol. Didn't hit it. But his brother actually went out. It was killing his chickens, and he shot it and just blasted it like twice, with buckshot. And it ran off into the woods, and then, of course, he gets a visit, and then some stuff almost popped off because his brother is a very, very... I haven't met his brother face-to-face but one time, and it was very brief. So I've never really had a conversation with him, and he was just kind of like somebody who I wouldn't want to mess with because he seems like somebody that would shoot first and ask questions later. But when you look at this situation, it's very similar because when people have information, that's one thing. But when you actually, fire on one of these things, and you hurt it, apparently that's a problem with whoever's handling them or is looking into them for whatever, And the question for me, I guess, for you too, Barton, is do you think that these things are being manufactured? And if so, for what purpose? Or do you think that they're being taken from some sort of ancient bloodline from, let's just call it Agartha or Shangri-La or Shambhala, Lemuria, whatever, the Inner Earth, basically? because that's what I think, and I think that they have been taken and used. They're being weaponized for whatever reason.
Right.
Now, that's the loaded question. I mean, that's going to be the one to answer. But the other question within the question is, if so, why? That's the question now. Me and you've talked about this, Barton, but tell the audience your opinion on that.
Right. So one of the fabled entrances to Agartha, the underground lost city of Agartha, is supposedly hidden somewhere in Mammoth Cave National Park. So, and LBL is not that far away. So we know through the letter that I just read on my channel that have confirmation that these creatures were there before the government.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you're right. The question is, are the government making these creatures? I do believe they are, because they come out a couple years ago with that chimera bill, which basically was a soft disclosure that they are combining the DNA of humans and animals.
Uh-huh.
So that's a soft disclosure there, and a lot of people didn't catch that, but they should have. But it is possible that they could be somehow capturing and controlling these things when they come out from the underground kingdom or whatever. But that is a good question, brother. But I do feel that the government is involved neck deep with this stuff. And a lot of people, they don't want to talk about this stuff because there might be repercussions, and from coming out and busting the government. But I do believe that they're 100% involved in it. They're controlling these creatures somehow, if they're not manufacturing them themselves, which I believe is highly possible too. But, if you manufacture a physical flesh and blood Dogman, well, it needs something to
power it,
run it, to empower it, right? It has no soul, it has no thoughts. You just have a piece of meat there. And so it's possible to me that these demonic spirits can come in and start using that Dogman that was created as a puppet.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see how these things can be captured and controlled. That would seem to be a bit much, but nothing's impossible when it comes to the government. We have no idea just how crazy and underhanded and demonic our own government is. The government is run by Satan, as we were taught in the Bible, that he owns all the governments. So, I believe that they're involved, whether they're making them or controlling them. I would tend to lean on the side that they're actually making these things. But this scientist, who is the most qualified witness I've ever spoken to in 40 years, he believes they're making them as well and feeding them with the hogs. And I have to go along with him, and because that is a lot more plausible than someone actually capturing and controlling a demonic evil spirit. So I would lean toward the government, and talked about the government being involved in the national parks. I was having a conversation with another good friend of mine, Larry Fisher. He's in the chat tonight. Hi, Larry. And he was telling me about these white vans that people were seeing in the national parks. So I thought, well, I got this scientist on the line, and I've been talking to him steadily for 2 months. And I can promise everyone listening, he is exactly who he is and exactly what he says he is. But I just asked him, I figured, well, if anyone would know if there's a government presence in these national parks, it would be him. So I just asked him out of the blue, have you ever seen any white vans with barcode or government plates? And he said, yeah, all the time. Why? So I explained to him what was going on, and he goes, yeah, they're here. That's true. And I asked him, I said, who's driving the van? Who's inside them? He says 10 to 12 soldiers in each van,
mm-hmm.
all dressed in camo with no insignia. And the strange thing about it all, Bart, he said, is none of them have what appear to me to be military-style haircuts.
No. That was the other thing that Shane, I'm going to call him Shane. I believe that was his pseudonym, that the guy that lived in near the canal, like he lived between two rivers, kind of like the land between the lakes, two rivers. But yeah, Barton, that's the thing. When his brother did what he did, they told us that they came and they took blood. They took the dirt where the blood had landed. Like they were like, "There's blood. We're going to find it." Blah blah blah. Just tell us what happened. And his brother, who kind of talks like this, he said, "I shot it. It's over there by the chicken coop. There's blood, but a lot of it's the chickens and maybe one of them demons that you guys, are looking for. If it comes back on my property, I'm going to kill it." And then they told him, "If you do, you'll go to jail." Now, how are you going to tell somebody that they're going to go to jail? There again, the local law enforcement doesn't know who the heck these people are. And so that's an issue, and so I debated, and we all did, just should we talk about this? Should we not talk about this? I don't think these people are with necessarily our government. It is some sort of shadow government, and these people were speaking foreign languages. I speak and understand languages. Some people don't, and I wish I would have been able to be there to hear it, but these brothers didn't know what they were speaking. And it to me, the way that they were trying to give me the words that they were using or whatever, it sounded like some sort of Slavic, but I'm not for sure on that. I mean, it's you're getting it secondhand from people who don't know, but they speak a little bit of Spanish, but they don't know. They know English and Spanish. They don't know what else. They're country people, and
right.
They grew up with the Hernandezes, for generations. The Hernandezes' ancestors worked for their ancestors, so. These people are country people, and I would ask the two guys here across the table from me, we have no reason to not believe anything they've told us before.
Yeah,
I mean, they're pretty solid people, I mean, when we first met them, they caught scorpions sleeping on the job, and they could have, said, "Hey, get rid of this guy," but they were very nice, and they said, "Hey, just don't be sleeping," that's Jerry and them. But and they were very nice people, and I worked with them for a year, probably before we knew that they knew anything about this stuff.
Yeah,
it was about a year.
Yeah.
I mean, we were working with them at Brackenridge and at the other place we're working at, that area, whatever it's called. I don't know the name of that area, but it's an area we worked at. We don't do it anymore, but. They have a business, they're contractors, and they were very gracious a few years ago to sit with me and give me all these information and go get their relatives. And that's how I met Shane, not his real name, and his brother. And his brother, like I said, is a loose cannon to say the least. And, he shot one, and then it became a big to-do. And then they were following him, and then at one point they ran him off the road. Now, he's a crazy person. I mean, I'm not trying to bag on him, but his own brother will tell you that, and he'll shoot at you, okay? So he was stopped, pulled out, threatened and told, "You need to chill out, you need to do this, you need to do that." And the guy talking to him, addressing him, speaking perfect English, but he heard guys around him talking not English, and it wasn't Spanish. So I don't know, what the heck is going on with that. And these were black SUVs.
Well, a lot of people don't know that, and I certainly didn't know this until it was pointed out to me that I think it was back during Clinton, he started ceding our national parks to the United Nations, and now they're under UN management and control. And so there you go. We have foreign troops right here on our own native soil, and the question is really, what the hell are they doing? What are they planning on doing? You have everybody's saying, well, you can't fly these drones in the parks because they don't want you to see these huge parking lots they have full of white vans there.
Yeah.
So we're talking about a lot of foreign troops on our soil, and they're thinking the reason is that the foreign troops wouldn't have any compunction at all to shoot and kill American citizens, innocent American citizens, whereas our own military might have those hesitations, right?
They don't want to do
they don't want to kill innocent people, but the foreigners wouldn't have any problems with that. So there's something really going on, and people need to start taking a look at it and not just, making stuff up for clicks or whatever. They really need to start looking at what's actually happening there. And when they do, I'm sure they'll find some things that's going to make them really, really uncomfortable with what our leaders are allowing to take place in our own country.
Well, another thing that was interesting, Barton, is that some of these people, and I know you've heard this, and I've heard this, when they are approached by these people, there's like a bevy of different types of people. Like that some people say they look like they're part Indian, not Native American, but like from India, and some of them look Asian, like East Asian, and then some of them look like they're Eastern European. So that would, and they're all speaking different languages. That reeks of like some sort of international something or other,
right? Yeah, they're not men in black. They're not men in black or anything like that. They're simply foreign troops that have no business being here, and they're here for a reason. And a lot of people are saying that when the day finally comes that they are activated for their mission, that all these white vans are going to start rolling out of our national parks and starting rounding people up for concentration camps, which would be all the Walmart buildings that have been closed down over the last 10 years. Walmart's the only business I can think of that is making more money than anyone else on the planet, especially since COVID. You couldn't buy anything anywhere but Walmart. So they made so many trillions of dollars, and now they've announced that they're going to have to shut down a few more stores. Yeah. So that's really fishy to me.
Well, and it's COVID was almost like a practice. When you look at, I'm not going to say, but like the illness or whatever, it caused so much chaos and so much upheaval, and there were so many things that went on. Businesses were closed, and like you said, a lot of places you could only go to Walmart or to like maybe one local grocery store if you were here. It was only two places you could go to for a while, and of course they closed down early, and they still are closing down early, which I don't understand that, but it's still closing down early. So what was put in motion during the pandemic is still happening now. Like it's still going on, which there's really no reason for it, but it's still happening. So there's a reason why they don't want us out after 11 o'clock. That's why everything closes at 11 o'clock, but at the time it was 8. It was like, oh, if you're out after 8, you'll get attacked by this disease. You'll be okay if you all cram into a building together before 8 o'clock. But after 8 o'clock, it could strike you dead. So, and
such ridiculousness that was put and shoved into our faces. And I'm just surprised at how many people didn't see what was happening. They didn't see that we were being lied to the whole time, and the science wasn't working out unless it was science that was in the hands of the pharmaceutical companies to push their agenda.
Well, and here's the thing, before we get off track on that, because we could do a whole deal on that. This situation here that was going on in the LBL, what you were talking about with this guy, he said that this guy said that he had mapped out the LBL and that he had every plant, everything. He knew every bit of the fauna and flora of the LBL, right?
Every plant and animal in there.
Yeah.
By the genus name, yeah.
And in his opinion, to you, he believed that these hogs were introduced. And they were introduced as a food source, and you would ask for what? What would they be introduced for? Why are these large feral hogs there if they were not there to be killed and eaten by a large predatory species? The largest predatory animal in that, he said, was a black panther, because he claimed that he had seen one. But they're not just running around all over the place that you would need to unleash a bunch of hogs that do a lot of damage. I mean, they're not fun animals.
They're an invasive species.
Yeah, they're an invasive species. I mean, you're when you look at what's happening in Florida, they are fighting a war. I mean, an absolute war with these pythons and these iguanas. They're just going crazy down there. They said iguanas will fall on you from trees and all kinds of stuff. We had a story about that. And then, over here in Texas, it's been war with these wild hogs. And I mean, they're just everywhere. I mean, they're everywhere.
Yeah, you would have to absolutely decimate their population to keep them under control. So if they're purposely releasing hogs into an ecosystem, they have to know something is going to hunt them to the extent that it can keep their numbers in
down.
check.
Yeah.
The fact that they haven't actually decimated more shows that there is something that is decimating their numbers enough to where they're
something's
growing.
keeping them numbers down because if I'm correct, Barton, you're not allowed to hunt there, right? You're not allowed legally.
No.
Yeah.
It's
So
open
you can't-
season here, right?
Yeah, and if you're caught with a weapon there, from what I've been told, if you're caught, you're in trouble. So you're not supposed to be there doing anything, naughty. And so that's crazy. Now, this is a huge place, 170,000 acres. I'm with you, Barton. I believe that these things were there. I believe that they lived, they come out of the cave systems, and I believe that somebody, I'm not going to say the American government because I don't believe it's the American government. I think it's a shadow arm or a shadow government agency, something, international maybe, is actually doing these things. Now, here's the question that was posed to me. They said, now, what is it? Is it from the inner earth or is it? And I said, it's both. And this guy said, well, explain that to me. I said, well, watch the show. Well, here it is. Here's the show. I'll give you the 411. I'll tell you right now, along with my buddy Barton Nunley, we have both agree on this. I'll speak for you, Barton. I'll tell them. We have both talked about this. Like you said, if you want to power a being, a clone, a Bigfoot, Dogman, whatever, you need a soul. So these beings are vessels. They're being recreated, cloned, whatever, and they are housing a demonic entity within them, something that once existed. It goes back to the book of Enoch, and it talks about the evil spirits of the earth for all time.
Right.
Do you agree with that, Barton?
I do, brother, and that's it's really something that people should be worried about. I know it's hard to believe. If you don't believe in God, you don't believe in the reality of God and the reality of the spirit world, I'm here to tell you right now, you will never come to any conclusion when it comes to these inhumanoid beings, the Bigfoot, the Dogman, Mothman. You cannot explain the things these things do without resorting to some form of spiritism. It's not possible. So if you're an atheist running around out there, then looking for Bigfoot, looking for answers about Bigfoot or Dogman, you will never find it. It's just not possible.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to think a little bit bigger than that. And you have to realize that there's more to this earth than we know. And science doesn't know everything yet. The science is it's an exercise in learning. Yeah, it's highly incomplete. It's an exercise in learning. It's like a snowball rolling downhill. The more data it collects, the bigger it gets and the faster it goes, the more it knows, But it's not a mountain. It's not a rock to stand on and say, hey, science doesn't recognize this, so it can't be true. Well, that's a logical fallacy. So, and this man, he knows all about the government presence there. He told me that in one certain place he was standing and he heard underground explosions beneath his feet and then what sounded like drilling. Mm-hmm. And it would drill for 15 or 20 minutes and then he'd hear another explosion. And then he'd hear drilling again. And this went on all day, and he went home and told his girlfriend, and she said he was crazy. So he took her back to the same spot, and she heard it herself. So we definitely have underground activity and traffic at the LBL confirmed. We're confirmed that the creatures were there before Jan Thompson wrote that story. And, it's just a lot to really soak in. But if you want all the details, guys, please go to my channel and watch that video before they take it down,
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Juan Arturo Mata, who was on my show once, Barton, and I'm gonna read his comment here. Juan Arturo says demonic entities.
Oh yeah, the dancing Juan.
Yeah, there you go. Dancing. Yeah, there you go.
The dancer. Yeah.
Yeah. Juan Arturo. He says demonic entities and AI, Bigfoot, and Dogman vessels make sense. Plus cults worshiping them. Now I'm going to get into what he's talking about. Juan was a guest on my show on the podcast audios episodes. what I don't know what episodes, guys. If you two could remember, Anthony, Tony, what he was on. Juan was on.
One. Hang on.
We'll try to find it by the end of the show. We'll put the link up there. But Juan had at Pedernales National or State Park. Sorry, Pedernales State Park, south of Austin. He came across what we believe that was a cult that was.
It's episode 90.
Episode 90. What is it called?
I don't know. Juan actually put it on.
Okay, Juan put it on there. Okay, but he had, it was a two-parter, and he came across what we believe was a ceremony, and they were shape-shifting.
Episode 90 and 91, shape-shifting sorcerers in the woods.
Shape-shifting sorcerers in the woods. Yeah, and now after he put that show on there, we had another guy who went by the name of Max, who gave us a crazy story out of that same area, but he was unwilling to come on and tell the story. And so I just kind of held on to it, waiting to see if I would get more, and I did. And then one of our colleagues, Barton, came forward and said, hey, this has happened before, and this happened up in Indiana, and there was a bunch of cult worshiping going on. Now, we interviewed him, and his name is Patrick Meekin. Me and you, Barton, remember when we did those like 20 episodes or whatever together?
Right.
And Patrick Meekin went on to say that he had heard all kinds of stuff and witnessed all kinds of things, people using magic and shape-shifting and everything you could possibly think of that was going on. And if you go back and listen to those episodes, I don't know which ones there are with Patrick Meekin. Those were some of the later ones. Anyway, bottom line is me and Barton, we've gone down the rabbit hole. We are thick as thieves, but we interviewed lots of people. Now, one of the themes that kept coming up over and over and over again, we set out to do, I think what it was, we interviewed like 8 or 9 people, right, Barton? And we only were trying to do Bigfoot.
Right.
And the Bigfoot, we knew about a couple of them that had a few different experiences, like Abe Seas and a few other people. But it turned into everybody had an alien abduction. I was blown away by that.
Everybody had so many things happen to them, and a lot of these Bigfoot researchers out there, they'll go after the Bigfoot report. But if you mention that you've ever seen anything other than that, that's strange and unexplained, then they'll look at you like, oh, here's another nut job, and won't even pay attention to you. But yeah, definitely there's a lot of things going on, and it's all connected. The Inhumanoids. It's a lot of people think that's a new book, but it's really about 15 years old now. But the main purpose of me writing that book was to illustrate how all these things have a connectivity, and that they're all likely coming from the same, just different manifestations coming from the same source. You shouldn't be able to live in a haunted house and see UFOs outside your house and Bigfoot and Black Panthers all in the same location.
Yeah.
But that's happened to me 3 times. So, I've had a long time to think about all this stuff. I've had almost 50 years to think about this, and I know a lot of other people haven't had that long. But it really shouldn't take you 50 years to come to a conclusion about what's going on with these inhumanoid creatures. All you need is an open mind, and you need to let the evidence lead you, and you not lead the evidence. The evidence will lead you to the truth every time if you accept that evidence. Even if it's outside your own paradigms, sometimes you have to go beyond what you know to find the truth. And that's another thing that happens to people when they see an inhumanoid like Bigfoot or Dogman. They get scared, and then they get confused, and they don't know what to do. They don't know if they should speak about it. They don't know what to say. They don't know how much to say. And I'm telling everyone right now, if you have a knowledge, the only thing that you can do as a human being is to stand up and tell the truth and share it with your fellow man. And it doesn't matter who believes you or how many believes you and how many doesn't. If you do that, you've done the only thing that you can do. So that's what everyone should do. If they share their knowledge, and no matter how crazy it may seem to some, there are people out there who will believe you that's seen and experienced a lot of the same thing. So you have to stand up and don't be silent, because that's what the devil wants you to do. That's what these the government agencies want you to do. They do not want you telling anyone the truth. Trust me, I know this. This letter that this scientist wrote me, he had a bunch of names and exact locations in there and everything. And when I asked him if I could read that on my YouTube channel, he said, "Oh well, you shouldn't. I don't think you should put the names in there or the location." I said, "Okay, I'll tell you what. You retype this letter, and you leave out the things that you don't want me to say publicly, and then mail me the second letter, the replacement letter." He said, "Okay, no problem." We did that and mailed the letter. And this is a man that lives a little bit over 3 hours away from me. His first letter arrived in 3 days. This second letter, the replacement letter, did not arrive for going on 3 weeks. So it was intercepted, and it was opened. And it ended up, he wrote a second replacement letter and mailed that. And I got that second replacement letter before I got the first one. But the first one did arrive 1 day after the second one arrived. And it was obviously opened. And it felt a little bit thicker than the first replacement letter, you know. So I didn't even open it, you know. I just burnt the letter. There's no telling what was in there. Where was it for almost 3 weeks? I don't know. So I already had the replacement letter in my hand, so I just burnt that letter and figured if there was a note in there for me, then the less I know about it, the better off I am.
You know, somebody in the chat, Martha Rohr, keeps screaming, "Hey, what are the names? What are the names of the people?" Well, there's been a lot of people that have gone missing there, Martha, but we had a guy on our show, and it was a big to-do a while back. I don't know. When was that? Was that year before last or something? When was it that we had the whole thing?
Yeah, it was a couple years ago.
A couple years ago when Barton was involved and the Cryptid Studies Institute was involved with Elijah and Johnny and a guy named Roger. And then he had said that he was a witness to this was one incident. Now, there's been more, but he was a witness to the killings of one incident, and they were an Amish family that had left the Ordnance, and that they were subsequently killed after arriving there. That was a story, and it was debated back and forth. Nick Valenti got on there with Jody Cook, and everybody was arguing and saying who did what, and Barton was involved, I was involved. Look, you can go back and you can listen to that story, and he came on later on again and kind of debated Nick a second time, I believe. He debated Nick like twice, I think, and then Nick kind of cross-examined him or whatever. And Ken Gerhardt got on that episode because this guy was talking about these creatures. And now what this individual said they were was a type of Aleutian dog that has been extinct for, how long was it? Like 100,000 years or some really long time that they had been extinct, and that they were the DNA was used to create these creatures. Which I don't know if that, and that's just what he was told. I don't know if that's what I believe, because I think these things are already there. You know, it talks about in Revelations about beasts within the earth. You want to speak on that for a minute, Barton?
Well, first I'd like to say something to 86 and all the people out there who are saying, you know, talking about the gun, bringing guns into LBL. I'm not telling anyone to break the law by any means, but I'm telling you this. As for my own self, I would not be caught dead in LBL without some kind of firearm. That's in addition to my swords. So take that however you want to take it, but I would not go in there unarmed by any means. And so, yeah, just to let everybody know, in case you're wondering, this scientist had watched a show, Joe, with Josh, with Joe. He believed Joe, and he also watched the show with Roger, and he believed Roger as well, because he just couldn't see why in the world what he would have to gain by making up such a story. So as far as the Aleutian dog, yeah, it's a extinct species of dogs, and it's I don't know why they would choose that one. I really don't know much about extinct canines, but that's what he says it was. And, you know, and really when it gets down to the end of the day, it's just only God and Roger knows if he's telling the truth, you know. I made it plain that I believed him from the beginning. So but really only God and Roger knows if he's telling the truth.
And that's the case with pretty much all of our witnesses. I mean,
Right.
you know, we can sit across
Every one
the
of them.
table from them, and I've sat across the table from a guy that worked, you know, well, I probably shouldn't say, but he was a local law enforcement and sat there and told me, my brother, and Scorpion right to our faces, you know, that this is what really happened. This is what happened. And, yeah, I mean, I mean, he seemed legit. He seemed like he was being honest, but you know, at the end of the day, I'm not a lie detector. I don't, you know, and even a lie detector can't catch some of these people that are, you know, that are pathological, whatever.
Right.
But I mean,
and we
you know,
weren't there, you know.
Yeah, we
I
weren't
wasn't there when that happened.
The thing that I had told Jody, who was the head of the NADP, I had told him, look, I said, dude, there's no way that we can say for sure. He was 100% convinced he was telling the truth. Johnny, our departed friend who passed away of COVID, just like my old co-host Armando, they died within 3 days of each other. It was really odd that when that happened. But they were convinced that he was telling the truth. You were convinced. I was on the fence. I didn't really know. And there was a lot of stuff that went on behind the scenes, you know, just a lot of stuff that me and Barton could write books, 2 books about. But, you know, we were kind of in the thick of it, and that's how we developed our friendship. And then, you know, of course, we've hung out and been friends, and, you know, we've eaten dinner many times together. And we have shared our opinions and our views, and we don't agree on everything. Like, we're not like an echo chamber. You know, we disagree, and our friend Ken, you know, he doesn't agree on everything. But one thing we do agree on is that Dogman in particular is not just a flesh and blood creature because of the things that it's able to do. Now, if you were to take the sons of God and breed them with the daughters of man, okay, and you created something, and then it was killed, but its spirits were on the earth afterwards, after this event, say a flood, what would you do if you wanted to revive these? Like right now they're trying to revive the woolly mammoth. You would need something, some sort of energy to put into these creatures, right? So if you were to catch a couple of these creatures, let's say hypothetically, you catch a couple of them, you give them more intelligence, more whatever, you genetically modify them, and then their souls, they are powered by demonic entities. And before you say that's crazy, our show moves in a progression. If you listen to last week's episode, it kind of sets up what's going on today. What was last week's episode about, Tony?
Last week's episode was about when we had that.
I can't believe this guy doesn't know. Anthony, what was last week's episode? What was last week's episode about?
About AI.
AI.
I was going to mention our guest, which we brought.
Okay, we're not talking about the guest. We're talking about, and no offense to Claudia Ackley, who's a great person. We're talking about what was the show about? AI. And then Claudia came on and talked about Bigfoot and a bunch of other stuff. But the AI part, okay, it all ties in. Now, what did you say last week, Anthony, for the uninitiated who weren't here last week, about what these computer parts, just really quickly?
Okay, so long story short, as I said that I think the whole end game of AI is to create machines or computers that will act as housings for demonic entities, so they can have a physical life in this world, or physical presence in our world that is not beholden to the requirements of the flesh. Like if you can put a demon or a spiritual entity into an AI like robot, then they don't have to eat, sleep, or drink. So that's a big advantage to have over mankind. And also the reason that I believe that is because if you and you can Google what I'm about to tell you if you're on your computer or your phone right now. If you look up the schematics or blueprints of a microprocessor or a circuit board, you're going to see like a bunch of symbols that you don't understand. That's okay. Just remember what they look like, and then Google the seals of Solomon. And some of those symbols are very similar, if not exactly the same. So what if the Seals of Solomon were actually like schematics for a device that could imprison these demons, and that's how he did it. Mm-hmm. So what if AI is the same thing? It's just they're just trying to recreate the rings or keys of Solomon, whatever the device was.
Yep. Somebody says here, good news is that God wins no matter how clever the enemy thinks it is. Flood destroyed all corrupted flesh, washed away all sin, and will purify by fire. Yeah. Another person, Larry, says here it's a new record for audience on a Friday live stream. I don't know about that. I know when Joe was on the show, we had 700 and something. I don't know if you remember that, Barton, and then everything crashed.
Yeah, I remember that. That was on a Tuesday, though.
But that was a Tuesday, so I guess Larry's saying a Friday, yeah.
Yeah, it's the most for a Friday.
So I guess this is the most for a Friday. Because people were finally starting to figure out that we're on Fridays.
Yeah,
because for a while there, the number's 300 or 400, whatever, which is nothing to sneeze at. But we had, because it was Friday, and finally people are starting to figure out, hey, and now they're getting it through their heads that we're not on those other platforms anymore because they just weren't. Because in order for us to do the show, folks, and I hate to keep harping on this, like right now, it's costing us about $400 or $500 to be in this room and not at work. So that is the catch. We have to try to make our money back somehow, and it costs money to produce the show. Like all this equipment in here is not free, and it was destroyed by a leaky roof. So we lost at one point, I think, $2,600 worth of equipment, wasn't it?
Yeah. And
then a bunch of books were destroyed. Thank God yours weren't destroyed, Barton, but because we had yours moved over.
Oh, wow.
But they were spared, but a bunch of other people's were destroyed, and I had to reorder books or whatever. But yeah, so Barton, your opinion on this guy, you think he's legit? You think he's straight up, he's giving you the truth?
Right. No, I don't think that, brother. I know that 100%.
Okay. All right.
Matter of fact, we're getting ready to meet up soon.
Okay. And you have taken multiple people out into the LBL, and you go into the LBL like all the time. But you've talked about this. Now this is on the topic, but in a little bit of a niche off the topic here. But let me say something. I have had a Dogman encounter when I was 15 years old.
Yeah.
You have had Bigfoot encounter, and we argue all the time about which one's worse because I have not really. Now, I may have seen something kind of like what Lyle Blackburn, a good friend of ours, had said he saw something when he was researching the Boggy Creek monster, the beast of Boggy Creek. Now, I saw something off of Row Lane here out near Pflugerville. It looked, my wife got a good look at it. She absolutely believes it was a Sasquatch. I saw it from the side and the back. I didn't really get a good look at it, so I don't claim it. But you had this horrific thing that happened to you, and you're writing the book about it, so I'm not going to give it all away, but I know the story. But you call it the Spotsville Monster, and you said that Bigfoot terrifies you, but the Dogman doesn't, right? That's what you said?
Right. Yeah, because I have experiences with Bigfoot. I've seen it. I know what it can do, and I know that there's nothing that I can do to interfere with one of these things. So what I'm hoping is the government-created chimera type Dogmen down in LBL. That's what I'm going to be dealing with, and that's the reason I'm down there trying to kill one right now to keep my word to people. I don't like breaking my word to anyone. So I'm hoping that's the case, brother. And if not, if these things are the evil spirits of the earth type creatures, then no one's probably ever going to see me again. But if they're the government-created chimeras, I'm going to send a message to the government and these creatures down there, if I can. But so far, every time I go down there, nothing that I do works. I guess maybe they see the sword and recognize that from days of old. I don't know. I'm pretty sure no one else is carrying a sword down there and spear. But guys, just wish me luck with that. I'm going to go as long as I can and try to keep my word. But there's going to come a time when I'm not going to be. I'm going to be too old to be swinging those big ass swords.
Well, so. And here's the thing too, and I believe this, and we talked about this, and it talks about this in Revelations. It says, if it were possible, even the elect would be fooled. What that means is if it were possible, which is saying that it's not possible if you're of the elect. And if you're of the elect, you're anointed by Christ. I believe that you're protected because these things are evil. They're not animals. I don't care what anybody says. That's not an animal. And I'm so sick of these people who go around saying that this is an undiscovered species of animal. Maybe a demonic entity animal type thing from the inner earth, yeah. But as far as like it just being like an animal that hops around and looks like a man, how does a wolf stand up on its hind legs and run around like a man? And that's an animal, okay? That is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life. What I saw, folks, and I saw with my own eyes, okay, and I was with my friend and his family saw it. No, dude, we did not hallucinate, first of all. We saw what we saw. But it was not an animal. There's nothing animal. It was just, it looked like a demonic entity on two legs that was like a wolf person thing. I don't know what to call it. It wasn't no animal. There's no animal that's like that. Now, I know, and Barton, we've talked about this before, what I saw, if you took like what people have described to me, and I've fielded hundreds of Bigfoot reports, hundreds of Dogman reports, this thing walking around on two legs like a man, just like Bigfoot does, but with a gigantic wolf head. It looks like it could just hold you by your arms and bite your head off. That, to me, it's as big and powerful and as strong looking as any Bigfoot I've ever been described, except for the really big ones that we got reports of, like in Alaska, and a couple that we fielded together, Barton. There was an individual that gave us stories that were like, unbelievable, like 8-9 foot tall. Now I had a guy, I think Roy Garza, who claims to have seen eye shine at 9 foot over there in Granger Lake, at San Gabriel River. My bad. But anyway, you know, and he was on my show at one point. I can tell you this: I really believe that there really isn't much difference. I think either one of them will kill you. It's like you're debating the difference between what's worse, a gigantic tiger shark or a gigantic great white. They're both gigantic creatures. We're at the bottom of the food chain with these things. It's not going to really matter if you get in the ocean with a 16-foot great white or 16-foot hammerhead, 16-foot great white, tiger shark, whatever. They're going to kill and eat you. And that's what I think this thing will do. I think it will absolutely kill and eat you. I think they all will. I don't want to be out in the woods around a Bigfoot. I don't want to be. Thank you for that donation, Brave. Very, very much appreciated and helpful at this point. But you can't say, hey, this one's worse than the other. But I understand my buddy Barton's apprehension because he was harassed and basically y'all were chased off of your property by one of these, or no, not one, or multiple creatures. I saw the Dogman, and I've interviewed a bunch of people around my area where I'm from, and it's like Bigfoot, but with like a dog head, you know, and just the bottom of the legs looks a little different. Humongous thighs, very muscular, just huge muscular upper body, built like the size of two bodybuilders. You come face to face with this creature. It's of your most wildest nightmares. What can you do? I mean, that's why I keep telling you, Barton, and I'm worried about your safety. I'm not making this up, and I'm appealing to you now to please be careful because, man, it would crush me if you went out there and you got killed before you released your book, because the book is what I'm really worried. I'm joking. I'm messing with you. I'd be like, damn it. You didn't get to read the spots for a monster. Just go and get killed.
No, I have, in addition to my pistol and my swords and my spears, I have a weapon that's much greater than all those combined, and that's my faith in God and Jesus Christ. And I know that it's not going to be my fate to be killed at the hands of one of these humanoid creatures. Because, right, if that were true, I would have already been dead long ago. So I think that I'm protected, and especially when Johnny was my partner and we were going down there, you know, Johnny Harrison and me, I was like, I just honestly felt that if one of these creatures was to come out and show itself, if Johnny was to tell it to kneel, it would have done it while I chopped its head off.
Johnny was a true man of faith to the very end.
He was a true man of God, and he didn't just talk the talk, brother. He walked the walk. And his conviction, I've never seen such conviction in any man.
And Barton, I want to say something about Johnny. There was something weird about the way he passed, because when he died, he was seeing something that was harassing him. And I had COVID the same time he did, which was weird. And then Armando, my old co-host, did too. We all did. Elijah had it. Everybody was sick. And it was weird. I was getting out of the shower, and I saw something very similar for a split second in the bathroom. And I told my wife, I said, what the heck? And that's when she had told me that Johnny had been seeing something, because she had been in touch with, I think, Gabby and Elijah. And you guys had too. Something was going on with that. There was something weird about that. And I think when you get a little too close, that's when you get attacked. And I think it was a spiritual attack. And I don't care what anybody says, you're not going to throw me off from that. Something was wrong there. Him and Armando to pass within 3 days of each other was just so weird. There was just something weird about that. And Jason Bland had reached out to me, and we had talked from Paranormal Soup. Check him out. He's on Sunday nights. Good guy. And he said, there's a curse attached to this Bell Witch, because we were all researching it, Yeah. And I just wonder about that, and I wonder if there was something, now Jason had pointed out to me that I think he was, when he was on my show, one of the episodes, he came on the live, and then he also did the 2 or 3 part, I think it was a 3-parter on the 1 hour episodes. That whole thing with the Bell Witch started with a beast in the field, a hairy beast in the field. And then it started the whole haunting and all that. And I do believe that these things are all connected. And when you and I went down the rabbit hole of these Bigfoot encounters we were doing, and we interviewed a guy from Breaking Bad. What was his name? Jesus Payan.
Right.
And he told us that when he was in New Mexico, down in like some canyon or something, if I remember correctly, him and his friend encountered a Bigfoot, and there was an alien-looking creature standing right behind it. Very weird stuff. And then you get these stories. I got one out of Cuero. Really weird story about this Dogman that was like it couldn't control itself. It was flipping, flopping around, whatever. And you start to wonder, was this thing, were they not able to control it? And then it was just flopping around on this guy's ranch, bouncing up and down. You got to know that there is something going on here. Now, and I'm not trying to, like I said, not trying to scare everybody or be an alarmist, but when you go down the rabbit hole and you go further and further and further down, and then you start to realize that our world is not what you think it is. And the reality that we're living in is not the reality that you think it is. There's nothing that I can say or Barton can say. It's up to you, and it's between you and God to accept that fact and for you to go and look for the answers. We can take you to the water of knowledge, but it's up to you to drink, folks. We can't make you do it. You have to put some work in and do some research and read. There's a lot of reading that needs to be done. And I think that God puts certain people in charge of certain things, and he gives you that ability to speak and to say things and do it for a reason. And you're given a platform for a reason. Because like it said, if it were possible, even the elect would be fooled. And I believe Johnny wasn't fooled. I don't think you're being fooled, and I'm not either. And I know that that at some point, maybe, our day will come, okay? But it will be when our God says it's time, not with these creatures or whenever the devil says it's time. I lived in fear of these things at one point, but I don't anymore. I'm not afraid. And since Nellie's been with me, I'll go out into the woods now, and I'll go and I'll investigate and I'll do things. And I always make her walk in front of me with bells and stuff. So she's the target. Yeah. She's the target.
Exactly.
So I can make a quick escape because I'm too important. Hey, I'm too important to the future of mankind. That's why I'm saying right now, I'm joking. I'm kidding, folks. It's a joke. I would never do that to Nellie. I would tie her to a tree. I'm kidding, honey. I would never do that either. I love you, baby. But the point is that, there are people out there who I think have been given a position to speak and to do things. And I think you're one of them. I think that your story with these creatures, you gotta come out and say what happened to you, because these people, there's people that we know personally in our lives, both of us, that are like, yeah, we're friendly creatures, and we give them apples and bologna sandwiches, and you're just sitting there shaking your head going, what in the heck is wrong with you? Why would you do this? I mean, why would you be so, because they have been told by these mainstream Bigfooters and other people who, who have TV, whatever, and saying, oh yeah, you'll go out there and give them some apples. They're like donuts. Yeah, it's good. And no, they don't. They would like to eat you. And I don't care what anybody says. Yeah. There will come a time when they're going to be released to do what they're going to do. Right. And I don't believe for a second that they're going to spare anybody when the time comes. I just, that's how I feel. And Barton, not to speak for you, but I know you know this.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's all coming to a head, it seems like, and it doesn't look good.
No.
To me, it doesn't look good. But we'd have to, like I say, all you can do is stand up and tell the truth. When something like this happens to you, it's not like it was back in the 70s, 80s, and even early 90s. People lost their jobs when they come forth and said, oh, I saw Bigfoot or a werewolf, as it used to be called back then. They lose their families, their wife, and some of them even lost their lives over coming forward. And the ridicule factor, believe me, I've been dealing with that since 1975. The ridicule factor is almost zero compared to back then. It's almost a matter of course now that if you see something like that, like these inhumanoids, you can come out and not really suffer too greatly for it. You might suffer still a little, but it's nothing like it used to be. So, like I say, all we can do as human beings is stand up and tell everybody what has happened to us and tell the truth, and don't freaking lie. That's the main thing. Do not lie. And once you've done that, then you can rest easy knowing that, you've done your part. This scientist guy did his part by coming forward and sending me that letter. And he asked me, he said, Bart, are you sure you want to do this? Are you sure you want to read that letter out loud to the public? And I said, well, if I don't do it, then I'm complicit in the cover up and the lies that they're pulling on everyone around here. So yeah, I'm going to read it. And regardless of what the consequences are, but I tell everybody you have to stand up and tell the truth. And if I didn't read it, I would be a hypocrite. So I did it, I read it, and I hope everyone gets a chance to go see that video. I'm surprised it's stayed up this long. It's been, I think, 5 days now or something like that.
Yeah, I saw that. It was 5 days, and we were talking about it today. And
and
I think
still
that
up, so
everybody needs to go and like and subscribe to Barton's channel, Inhumanoids with Barton Nunley. He's up. He's trying to build up his subscriber numbers. You got a lot of views on that show. So. Right. But the thing is, you got to understand something. Like everybody involved in any of this is taking a chance. Everybody, we're all taking a chance by trying to tell you what's going on. In the early days of my show, I was bullied. We were bullied. We were. We had these big groups that were messing with us. We had these big, because I was coming out and saying things that weren't popular. I was bullied by multiple people in this community who were just
had their own agenda, telling us that we're making everybody look stupid. Stop talking about them being shapeshifters. Stop talking about them being anything other than a physical animal. And that was the opinion that held sway when I came into this.
Right. Yeah, I've been dealing with that since 1975, brother. People don't want to believe. They don't want to believe that Bigfoot and Dogman exist, period. But especially when you go and try to teach them the origins of these creatures, it's beyond their capacity to learn. Especially if you don't believe in the reality of the spirit world, you can't come up to any logical conclusions about the existence of any inhumanoid, even Bigfoot. Mm-hmm. Bigfoot's not Gigantopithecus blackie, as most people want you to know or believe, because Gigantopithecus blackie's never been even accused of having any of the supernatural abilities that these Bigfoot creatures do, right? Gigantopithecus blackie couldn't walk across a field of mud and not leave a footprint, or speak to you telepathically in your own language, or disappear at will. I mean, give me a break. So if you want to say that Bigfoot is an ape, then you show me the ape that can do any of these things, and I might turn around my opinion, but I don't think that's ever going to happen, because there's never been a physical creature in this world that can do the things that these Bigfoot creatures can do. And I'm telling you, the Dogman, I haven't personally taken any reports of it speaking telepathically or anything like that, but if they're along the same lines as these Bigfoot creatures, then we're gonna be having a real problem with these things when they're let loose on society.
Well, and if you look at these things as an animal, I mean, you're already behind the 8 ball, because that's not what these things are. I just don't. Well, it's just not.
It just doesn't make any sense at this point. At this point, with the technology being the way it is, that it is simply impossible for us to not be able to find an animal like this that would be roaming in the woods, multiple of them. We find new creatures all the time. We find new insects, all sorts of new beings that are just randomly, finally, we find them all of a sudden. And then now we can't find this 9 foot tall, like these ginormous beings that just roam around. Like, you can't make me believe that that's possible. So there has to be
each day that goes by that Bigfoot or Dogman is not scientifically classified, just is further testament that my and Josh's logic is sound, right?
Exactly. It's like
you're never going to find these things using science, because they're beyond and above science. I mean, science won't even admit that they exist. So you're never going to find a dead body of these things, like struck by lightning or hit by a car. I took one report a few years back of a couple of ladies running over one of these things with a car. And it tore up the underside of their car, a lot of damage, and they can't even remember. They remember going up over this creature that was sitting on the side of the road, and next thing you know, they were driving home 2 or 3 hours later. So, they tell you don't use one mystery to solve another one, and I tell them to you know what, kiss my butt, because that's the truth. There is a connection between the UFO phenomenon and the humanoid phenomenon. So,
well, I mean, you're not going to catch fish in a lake. I mean, you can't, if you're not willing to accept the entire picture, you're not going to be able to figure it out. I mean, you can't look at just a certain aspect of something and be like, oh, okay, this is how we're going to find it. If we just focus on this very specific aspect that we don't have any proof about, that we don't have any backing of, that we can't even really say is really true, because we don't even have a way to prove that is true. So if you're not willing to accept the supernatural part of it, all you're really doing is walking in blindly, hoping to stumble your way into something. And it's just not going to work that way, because, like you said, it's above science, or it's a science that we just simply don't understand. And And what I was going to say about the question that you asked earlier, Wolf, was about the difference between yours and Barton's encounters. And I don't believe there is a difference, to be honest, because at the end of the day, as you said, we've taken so many stories and so many horrific encounters of these nightmare situations where, people are basically harassed and their lives are put to the test because of these creatures. So it all just really, I think, depends on about what was the person's first experience with the unknown. And I think that's what really connects with them, is that it's the first time you realize that what you thought was correct and what you thought was natural isn't, and that there's something beneath that you don't understand at all. And I think that's what really makes people connect to it, and that there's certain encounter in a different way that other people might not. So like you said with Dogman, for Barton, it's not the same for how it is with you.
Yeah, I'm not as scared of Bigfoot as I am Dogman.
Exactly.
Here's the thing, though, and I tell everybody this. if you lived in a house that was haunted, which you have, Barton, and so have I, that's
Oh,
another
my
thing we
goodness,
have
yeah.
in common. Yeah. And, you know, I know our buddy Lyle was kind of joking about it, and then he moves into a house and he actually starts having stuff happen. And
Right.
so
That's what I
here's the
hear.
thing. I mean, it's uncanny. But
Serves him right.
here's the thing. I mean, sometimes when you deal with hauntings, which I've dealt with a bunch of them, not me myself, just but like going and talking to people who've had hauntings, and we have been in their houses and had weird stuff happen in front of us, like several of us. Now, they'll say, well, it started off innocent enough. You know, I mean, you know, my child was talking to another little kid and blah, blah, blah. And it was like, it was all benign. And next thing you know, their kid's getting scratched and bit and smacked and thrown into a wall. And, you know, it's so bad that the CPS is thinking that they're doing something, and then they're being attacked and scratched and bit and thrown into a wall. And it's like, yeah, these people who are naive enough to actually see a Dogman or a Bigfoot and then go, well, it didn't attack me. I was walking to the store and I saw this hyena-like looking thing, and I just stood there and kind of looked at me and then trotted off into the woods. So therefore, they're all benign and they don't really hurt you if you don't hurt them. Well, let me tell you something. A shark ain't going to bite you if it's not hungry. A lion, you can literally walk by a lion if they just fed. They're just going to look at you and they're going to lay there. But when it gets hungry, then something's going to happen. Now, you're going to say, Josh, you said they weren't really completely physical. They're not. But every being needs some form of energy. We gather energy by what? By eating, by drinking, right? These beings, they gather energy because, like Anthony had said about the computer and all that, electromagnetic whatchamadoodles, whatever. They need that energy, right? So these demons, they'll come at you and be like benign and cool at first, or maybe they're just not hungry. But then at some point, your energy is going to be on the menu. Same thing with these creatures, man, these critters. Maybe they're not hungry. Maybe they're just curious at that point. They're looking at you and they're like, whatever. And then they walk off. But then the next time you're going to the store for cigarettes, well, maybe that hyena-looking thing decides, I think I'm going to take a bite of this because I haven't eaten in 2 days. That's the key right there. Just because you had an encounter and it didn't kill you, because you hear it on that stupid shows all the time, one in particular, yeah, if it wanted to kill you, it would have. Yeah, it will absolutely kill you if it wanted to. The problem is that people believe because they got away with it once or twice that these things are friendly. But they could just be trying to get you to let your guard down, you know, and then eventually they're going to turn on you because they're not you. They're the other. And the other, we're told in every holy book on the planet, besides just the Bible and everything that has to do with that, we're told that they are not to be messed with. You are not to deal with them. When you conjure these things, when you go and you play with the Ouija boards or you do any of that, imagine you're deep sea fishing, right? And I've been deep sea fishing, and you throw your, whatever, you don't know what you're going to get. You're looking for a marlin, you pull up a blue shark. You don't know what you're dealing with because you can't see under that water. You're looking through the glass darkly. And you don't know what you're going to get. That's why you don't mess with them. And so when these people, I've interviewed a bunch of them, and I know you have too, Barton, and they'll sit there and be like, well, it didn't hurt me, So that makes you special, I guess, right? You're special. You're the one that got away. At some point, it could. I'm just going to say it will. Because if you keep playing around, at some point you're going to come across the wrong one, or when they're hungry or whatever, and it's going to be on and popping. And you're on the menu.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. Is like, yeah, you might get lucky with that one, but how are you going to say that all of them are like that? That's a ridiculousness I can't understand. It's one thing to be like, you might get lucky with one, but to say that every single one of them are benign or, non-harmful and that you'll be pretty much safe messing with them is ridiculous. And you can't say that about any creature, really. I mean, you can't be like, oh, because, there's lion tamers that we can go out into the safari and just start whipping lions and getting on stools and stuff. So you can't, come on now.
They're not all created equal either.
Exactly.
They're not all the same. Like you might, come across, a guy who's killed and robbed and done all kinds of stuff. And at that moment, maybe he's got money in his pocket and he don't need it.
Mm-hmm.
But then the next time, well, maybe he's broke. Inside the mind of a carjacker, my feet hurt. I'm broke. End of discussion.
Right.
I mean, that's what happens, and people just do not understand that. They'll argue with me, they'll argue with Barton, they'll argue with our colleagues all day long that, well, I didn't. The ones on my property didn't bother me. They didn't hurt anybody. I went and got them some, Kentucky Fried Chicken and gave it to them, and they were all good. And then what happens when you stop feeding them? Because we've heard the horror stories about what happens when you don't feed them and how they'll knock your freaking house down trying to get inside.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
You end up paying tribute to this creature now instead of...
Which is a form of worship.
Yeah.
Right, or even worse, they simply walk through your wall and confront you inside your home.
That's another thing about that was a case that my old partner Armando had covered from the show. My old
I covered a couple too.
Yeah, that bit the guy's hand. It bit his finger off. That is what people don't understand. And now, if there's one person that I know that knows a lot about the LBL, it's Barton Nunley. And I'm going to tell you right now, you know a lot more than I do. I mean, we had the conference there, and you were telling everybody whatever, and Martin came on, and we met Joe, and from that conference, a lot of good happened. So, Barton, you're going to be at my next conference, right, on Labor Day weekend? Right. Yeah. And I'm looking forward to it.
Lord willing and the creek don't rise, I will be there, brother.
Yeah. And so we're hoping that it'll be a big success, and it'll be in Fort Worth, and we're hoping that we'll do it all again. Is there anything else you want to say about this whatever?
Well, I think just this, brother, and I'll get off here. I think people, they get too complacent in their own knowledge of what they think that they know. My good friend Mark Maychek, a couple months ago, he asked me, Bart, did you read such and such what he wrote on his Facebook page about LBL? I'm like, no, Mark, I don't pay attention to people like that. And he said, well, you need to go read it. And so I went to this man's page. I'm not going to say his name, but he has 5,000 or 6,000 followers. And I read what he posted, and it basically said, I've been going down to my research team, been going to LBL for several years now, and we've never seen one clue, not one bit of evidence that there's a beast there of any kind. So we conclude that there is no beast in LBL. Bring your family down, have a good time, this and that. And I'm like, how arrogant is that? And and reckless as well. It's like me saying, well, I lived in Florida for 7 months, and I must have swam in that ocean 100 times, and no shark ever attacked me in that ocean. So I don't believe any sharks have ever attacked anyone in this ocean. Yeah. Right? How arrogant is that? And I guarantee you, I've been going down to this place a lot longer than this man, years longer. And I've never had any kind of evidence regarding Dogman either. But there's no way that I would discount all these dozens of people that I've talked to that have seen it and have heard it and know people that have done it. So I think we need to not be so complacent in what we think we know, and there's things out there we don't know. But thanks to this scientist guy, a lot of the answers concerning the LBL are now starting to get much clearer.
Mm-hmm. And I encourage everyone to go and check out Barton's channel and listen to the whole thing in its entirety. As soon as the show's over, if you have time, go check that out. The other thing I was going to say, and like I said before, me and Barton have debated back and forth about Dogman, Bigfoot. He thinks Dogman is not as tough as Bigfoot. I think Bigfoot's not as tough as Dogman. Whatever. We go back and forth because I was scared to death by a Dogman. He was scared by a Bigfoot as a kid. We both were kids, really, just use. Yeah. When it happened to us. But, right. You can't live your life in fear, but you need to know that these things are there. And I'm not going to tell people, hey, I had some people who were friends, and they were coming to town. They said, where's a good place to go camping around here? And I was very honest. I said, there's a lot of places to go camping around here. But I'm not going to be the one to tell you, go camping out there. And they said, why? I said, I have my reasons. And eventually I had to kind of just tell him, look, this is going to sound crazy. And it did. It sounded crazy to him. But after a while, my friend started to kind of pay attention and read, and he goes, dude, it's like swimming in the ocean. You just don't know. And when you look at to say that the LBL 170,000 acres, okay, when you say that 170,000 acres and there's nothing out there, that is crazy. The only thing I didn't agree with on the video, and I'll say this, is that the guy was talking about how you can fly a helicopter over East Texas and shoot hogs or whatever. You can fly a helicopter over Texas and shoot hogs, but once you get to the far east side of Texas, like near Cato and all that, you can't see anything over that canopy. It's one of 2 places in the country that's considered jungle. Now, Rob Riggs wrote a book called Into the Big Thicket, and he talks about that, about how it. But now I don't know for sure, but if this guy, what he says is correct, 95% foliage, then that will probably be considered jungle too. Parts of the LBL would be considered jungle, because I know that at one time it was just the Florida Everglades, and then the East Texas, the Big Thicket, was considered to be jungle because it was so thick you couldn't even map all of it from a satellite because it's just a canopy. So you're not going to be shooting hogs from a plane up there. Now, if you mean East Texas like Bryan College Station, that's not really East Texas. That's east, but that's not the thicket. There's still open fields and stuff there. But once you get to a certain point in East Texas, there are no open fields. It's just woods and lots of woods and more woods. Kind of like when we were up in Jefferson. It's nothing but woods, and the only places that are cleared out are where the towns are. There ain't no open fields there, I can tell you that. And that was a horrible conference, by the way. We both disliked it. But point is, that was probably the only thing I disagreed with. Everything else, I agreed with what the guy had said, and it was very mind twisting. The guy had his own encounter too near a cave.
Right. Yeah, Mammoth Cave.
Mammoth Cave.
It was crazy. So yeah, you can't fault him for not knowing much about East Texas, brother. He's been in Kentucky for the last 40 or 50 years.
Mm-hmm. Well, and then when you talk about those creatures though in the LBL, those dogmen in the LBL, they seem like they're very hyper aggressive, but they're not nearly as big, from what I've been told, as these fatheads we got down here. And I call them fatheads because they look like what they would classify as soldier types. I've heard that term thrown around, bandied about, but they do though. I mean, the ones we see down here are these humongous, 7.5, 8 foot tall. What'd you say?
I mean,
hundreds of pounds, and they have these,
just.
But I think that what they've done is they've bred them down a little bit to where they're easier to handle. And I'm speculating here, folks, down there where you're at, Barton, and I think that what they've done is made them smarter. I mean, I'm just saying,
they're pretty smart. I'm telling you, they won't come out around me. Now they see the sword, and it's like, crickets.
Well, and they also, we've heard stories of them.
Really frustrating.
Somebody pointing a gun at them, and they know what that is. They know what that is. They
I remember you said that story where someone pointed a gun at them and they immediately dropped to lay down, like they were trying to, stay out of the side of it, like they understood that that's dangerous.
Yeah, we've had so many stories like that too, where a Bigfoot too will hide behind a tree when somebody's got a gun. They know what these weapons are. They know that mankind is dangerous in his own right, and they know to stay hidden. But it is weird, when you think of them as being vessels. Consider this. We got a story out of Tennessee, again, another one recently, where a hunter shot one and nothing but fluff and fur came off of it. There was no blood. So explain that to me. What is that? An animated Bigfoot corpse? I don't know what that would be. I mean... and then you got another story that I got not too long ago out of the LBL of these zombie deer. And one of them had that said there was like a deer, and it was really close to Paris, Tennessee. And it was because of the Paris, Tennessee conference. The person said, "Hey, are you going to have the conference?" He said, "Yes." Well, I had a story out of that area near Paris, Tennessee. And of course, the guy that we rented the building from, he had stories. He believed in the beast of the LBL. He was a believer, and he had stories of like UFOs, black cats, all kinds of stuff. But this guy said that he lived 22 miles, I think, east of Paris, and he said that this thing stood up on its hind legs to eat something off of a tree. I can't remember what it was. He said it was like a figs or something, but it wrapped its arms around the tree. And I was like, what do you mean arms? Guy's name was Henry. When he described this creature, like he said that it was like the hooves kind of morphed really quickly and then back again. And he's like, me and my wife saw it. He goes, and if I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I would think you were crazy if you told me this story. So there is something going on there. And it's, to me, it's just not a coincidence that it's built on this large cave system. You get these weird stories just like out of Carlsbad Caverns. Like if you go to Carlsbad Caverns where the caves are in New Mexico, there are areas where you're allowed to go, and then there's areas where you're not allowed to go. And if you go into those areas where you're not allowed to go, there's guys with guns there, like guards and stuff, that'll tell you can't go any further than this. And we've gotten stories of people who have snuck through there and seen really weird things, like lizard people. And that sounds, just, whatever, but it's not. Because all you have to do is look up the history of the inner earth, and you will know that there have been countless civilizations above the ground and below this ground. Like in the book of Job, where have thou been? And Satan says, I've been walking to and fro upon and within the earth. That part always messed with my mind.
There's several parts in the Bible that correlate with the inner earth theory. So, people need to open their eyes about that possibility.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm interested in is, we've been speaking about vessels recently. I wonder if by them entrapping themselves into these vessels, thinking short-sightedly that, hey, I'll finally be able to do that, if we're able to fully destroy them because of the fact that they trap themselves into these vessels, if that's a possibility, and if that's not something that these demons or whatever these spirits or creatures might realize, is that they might be sealing their own doom in a way by trying to figure out a way to get out of whatever they're trying to get out of by entrapping themselves into either AI or into these creatures with more physical bodies in a way. And that's just something I thought about.
Look at what Brett Loffer says. He says areas where people most often vanish regularly have more underground cavern systems. Right there. Yeah, and then right here, Brave's comment, Bible says every knee will bow in heaven, earth, and under the earth. Why would it even mention the inner earth if it doesn't exist? Why does every holy book on earth? I tell people all the time, I've read about all the religions of this earth. Well, not every one of them, but I've gone pretty deep, even so much as to go into like the Kurdish Yazidis. I mean, it's pretty obscure, and Zoroastrianism, and I've read all of these. I've read all these different books, the Hadiths and the Vedas and the Kabbalah. What you're dealing with are basically manuscripts that tell you point blank, this is real. There's an inner earth. I mean, it really exists. Admiral Byrd, look it up. Oh, Elastic Machinery says The Smoky God is a great book. Yes, Smoky God. We talked about this on, what was it, when James Bartley came on? Was it 3 episodes ago?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, 2 or 3 episodes ago, we talk about all these books and whatever. The Coming Race, what is it called? It's the book is called Epidoria, whatever. It's basically Aphrodite spelled backwards, and the guy says it's called I Am the Man, and he goes into the inner earth, and there's this pale humanoidal crawler creature that shows him everything. We've heard of those. Those are rakes. The name comes from creepypasta, but it's still a real thing. I know that Bettina was talking about. Bettina is a colleague of ours. She was talking about that, even though it's called something, whatever, that's still what it is. You can call the name whatever you want to call it, but that's still what it is. And me and you, Barton, have talked about this too. A lot of times fiction will mimic what reality is, and they'll put it in a fictional way,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I think that everybody that doesn't have much faith that the inner earth exists should go read Revelation chapter 5.
Mm-hmm.
And to anybody that wants to know what the purpose of these inhumanoid creatures will be at the end
in the end days, just read chapter 6, Revelation chapter 6 right there. It's all right there. All you have to do is read it and understand it to see that, something's going on, and it's probably going to be soon. But I want to say thanks, brother, for having me on. It's always great to be on your show, and I want to say hello to all my friends in the chat and the PRT family. You guys are great. I love you guys. And hopefully I'll see everybody at the next conference.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Barton, I'll talk to you again. We talk all the time, so we
right.
will,
okay, brother.
Yeah. You take care.
Y'all have a good night, and Mushu, you have a good night.
All right, man. Later, Barton.
Y'all be safe down there, okay?
It's a pleasure
You
talking
too.
to you.
You
as
be
always.
safe down there. Stop running around out there with,
Yeah, eventually I will, brother. I'll probably be either dead or too old to do it, but it's people have to do what they have to do, and I think that's what I have to do. I give my word that I would try to do it. So, and I've been trying for 2 years, but who knows if I'll be successful or not? But I have to try. So, you guys just say a prayer for me, and I'll do the same for you.
Yeah. All right, Barton. I'll see you.
All right, y'all have a good one.
You too.
Too.
Night, paratroopers.
Good night. So, let's see here. That was Barton Nunley, good friend of mine. Everybody knows me and Barton, good friends. We did a lot of work. We've done a lot of work together. I've worked with a lot of people, but Barton is a very close personal friend. Folks, you can draw your own conclusions of what you think is going on. We can't, like I said, we can only take you to the waters of knowledge. It's up to you to take the drink. The only problem I have with Barton is that he won't drink Shasta. The morning Shasta and then the evening Shasta. He says every day he takes a Shasta in the morning and then one in the evening, and he pours them down the sink.
And what annoys me is that he'll take a sword but not a Shasta. Like, that makes any sense?
Well, Shasta gives you energy. It's got
It
what
gives you
plants
energy.
crave.
I mean, I could fight a Dogman on
electrolytes.
a Shasta.
You could throw. We're actually creating a Shasta weapon that can shoot Shasta at people. And we have heard, we're not for sure if this is true, but we have been given insider knowledge that someone actually defended themselves up in Wisconsin from the Beast of Bray Road with the orange Shasta, I believe.
I believe so.
Yeah.
And what's crazy is that it's perfect for humans, because if you accidentally, actually do hit a human with it, it actually invigorates them.
Invigorates them.
So you don't have to worry about harming any humans with it, but it's perfect for any, nefarious creatures of the night.
It makes deaf people hear and blind people see. Shots is so good that it makes me sing. It's awesome. You got to drink it. It's the breakfast of champions. It's the dinner of winners.
Now, this isn't us saying this. These are just known facts about Shasta, obviously.
We're just saying this because we're not getting paid by Shasta to do this.
Yet, hopefully. I mean,
We're just saying it. Shasta, if you're out there, hit us up, dude.
are they still out there?
Ken Gerhard has made it the official drink of Paranormal Roundtable. Once again, Ken doing things without even consulting me. Whatever, dude. Anyways, folks, it says here, Shasta's Dogman kryptonite. Yeah, it is. I'm fully convinced of that. Folks, I'm joking. I'm seriously kidding now, okay? People don't go out in the woods and think that you're going to give them Shasta and they're going to back off, okay? Everybody knows that does not stop Dogman, okay? Unless it is the cola version. I believe it's the cola one, because that one, it's kind of rough.
Not the best, yeah. So
Yeah. Funny story, when we were at the conference, Ken laid a case of Shasta on Kenny Irish's table, and Kenny was like, "What is it? Why is there all this cheap soda on my table?" And then Ken didn't want to admit to it doing it. I was like, "Oh, look at me. I didn't buy that crap." But I'm not calling Shasta crap. It's very good, okay? Just letting you know. It's very good. Puts hair on your chest. Yeah,
it actually takes hair off your chest as well, which is crazy. But
it's good for conditioner. It does a lot of things. So anyway, folks, Barton Nunley, he was our guest, and now we're going to do the giveaway, and we got to get running because these guys got to go to work in the morning, which really sucks, and I got to work tomorrow, Sunday. So, but I got a lot of things to do tomorrow because I'm going to be alone taking care of the animals. So we got to do the wheel of destiny. What's it called? The wheel of morality?
The wheel of hit or miss on whether it'll work right.
So, folks, if you have not won, start letting us know right now in the comment section that you have not won. Somebody says, "Where's Truffle?" Truffle's is right here, sleeping
Adorably.
little piggy. My wife has been cooking for him every day. I'm like, you don't have to cook for this animal.
Just give it vegetables.
He won't eat them. We tried giving him fruit and vegetable. He just like
He likes grapes. That's the only reason I got him to like me.
He likes grapes, but he choked on one the second day we had him.
Yeah, you got to cut him in half.
Yeah, you got to tear him in little pieces, and he reached over and just grabbed one out of the bowl. Not a good thing. We had to like dislodge it. It's funny now, but it was terrifying at the time. I thought, oh my gosh, we just saved this little pig from the die from grapes.
I also have to give Banjo his medicine.
Yeah, and Baby's with us right now. We got to give her her medicine.
Yes, who hasn't won? Let's see. Matt Colonel.
Who hasn't won, guys?
Matt Colonel.
If you haven't won, make sure you put yourself in the chat so that Anthony can see it.
Now, Martha Rourke says not own. I guess
Pork and beans. Make sure Pork and beans has been
Pork
with
and
us
beans
for a really,
number
really
one.
long time. Let me make sure.
He's been a listener for a long time.
I remember during the Armando days looking at those comments and seeing Pork and beans.
Yeah.
Let's see. Here Day. I know last time. I know we nominated Here Day like last week, but I don't think I.
Yeah, she said you didn't put her name on.
Who?
Here Day DeHillen.
Hair Day Dylan. Okay. So put her on there, and then who do we got? Who else? Sue G says they haven't won.
Right.
Move this down some.
Don't say that, Frank. That's just going to make us not choose you.
Brave.
Yeah, Brett's right about that with the grapes, but that's not the same for pigs. So he can eat grapes. Vet told us.
Yeah, that's our dogs. Yeah, don't feed any. Well, they don't even
Luis
eat grapes.
Sandoval and Miss Shannon. There's Miguel Guerra. He was on last week. He didn't just give him another shot. And then
So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people.
so
Is that good, or do you want to choose two more?
let's use one more. What about? Did you put Luis on there? Let's put Luis on there.
All right. What's his last name?
I just rode by real quick.
Yeah, let me see.
Sandoval.
Okay.
And then let's put Susie B on there too. She's like, it's funny, I've never won. All right. And that's good because just in time on Tuesday, we'll be getting the new merch in. So we'll have sizes for everybody because unfortunately we've had to tell people, hey, we don't have your size. But we should have enough for everybody. And remember, this is for a book and a hoodie. Okay? So, and then we remember, as always, we drop the link to the show on the Paranormal Roundtable group on Facebook. If you go to Facebook and you join the Paranormal Roundtable group, then you can be entered to win. If you leave a comment on there, you can be entered to win. It automatically enters you to win, a book. Now, that's not a hoodie and a book. That's just a book. And we'll give you a few other things, too. Now, quickest way to get merch is just to go become a $20 patreon.com/PRT podcast member, and we automatically send you a swag bag, and you'll get some merch. It's only $20 a month, and you automatically just straight up, you're helping support the show, and then you automatically get a swag bag full of merchandise.
And if you're wondering where to email Josh if you did win, you can go ahead and look right above his head. That's the email right there. Or you can go onto Facebook and get a hold of him on Facebook. Do either one.
And now we're doing this
Just waiting for the wheel to spin.
All right. Do the first spin. See if it works.
Well, looks like it does.
It's Matt Colonel.
Ooh, barely got Matt. So Matt, let's
Yeah,
write
that
him
was a
down.
close one.
Now here's what we're doing this today because we've had some issues in the past with people not giving us their information. If you duck out, you don't say, "Hey, I'm glad I won," or give us some kind of say, "Hey, we know you won." Then, you duck out. Then I can't help you. So
You have to give us a confirmation.
Confirmation on there that you won. Now you got to give me your information through the email.
Yep.
So Matt Colonel, you won.
He just commented.
Cool. All right, so let's spin it again.
Cool. He's been listening for over a year now, so this.
Susie B. All right, Susie. I rock and roll all night long. Sweet Susie. Oh man, I'm so stupid. So here we go. Okay, so we got Matt, we got Susie. Who else? What do we got here?
All right, spin it again.
Spin the wheel.
11-11.
11-11, folks. 11-11. Martha Rourke. All right. What do you think?
That's 3 people so
That's
far.
3. You want one more? You want to do another one?
Yeah.
Well,
Get nuts.
go crazy.
Let's go crazy up in here.
Moment of truth.
Moment of
Cross your
truth.
fingers. Here we go. Miss Shannon.
Miss Shannon.
Congratulations.
Remember,
to
folks,
the
if you didn't
winners.
win this week, you might win next week. You never know.
That's why you got to come back every week.
Yeah.
Get your name on the wheel.
Now, Miguel, you didn't win. That's 2 weeks in a row you didn't win. So I feel kind of bad. So here's what we're going to do. Okay? We're going to spin it one more time. If you don't win, Miguel, okay, I'm just going to take you out. I'm going to throw you something, okay? Just because you and Pork and Beans have been listeners for so long. So I'm going to go ahead. Pork and Beans and Miguel, you guys deserve something here, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and hook you up. But go ahead and spin it one more time for whoever else is on there. Miss Shannon,
Okay,
one more
spin
time.
it
Do it again.
Watch it pick someone else who already
Susie
won.
B.
Sue G.
There we go.
Oh, wow. She got lucky.
So this week we got a lot of winners, right? And if you didn't win, I'm sorry, and we'll get you next time. Hopefully you come back. So Brave, you're always in there, and so is Luis and her day, Dylan. We'll remember from last week. We'll put if you come back next week, we'll put your name on the wheel again. Okay, so this week, Pork and Beans, just from being a listener to the show from way back from the very beginning,
he's one of our first.
And then Miguel. Honestly, my wife felt bad for you last week, and so you get the pity vote. Okay, dude? Yeah, you win.
You get Nelly's vote.
I'm kidding, Miguel. We love you. So it says, thank you, Wolf and Tony and Anthony and everyone. What do you think of these two for? Think me. I'm not.
You're welcome, Miguel. Personally, you're welcome.
What the? Why are you thinking
And I feel
these
so.
two?
Well, you
Who's
can thank me
Muchu?
for the quality of the show, but for the giveaways, yeah, I don't deserve the thanks.
Great quality. 4 white names, all just close together. This wheel of yours.
It's better than you can do.
Why didn't you mix it up like orange, gray? Why is it just like one side?
Because what does it matter?
Because it's aesthetically
It doesn't
pleasing
matter,
to
but it
mix
does
up.
look-
It looks cool.
Yeah, when I have a minute, I can do that. But in
You can't be bragging about how good the show looks
people
and
want
then
to
you show
win.
that.
If he has
In the here and now, people want to win. Okay. Why don't you ask Miss Shannon and I think Susie B, or whoever's name was in white, ask them if they cared what color their Their name was.
I'm sorry. Is somebody speaking?
I don't know. He's
I don't know
talking
who
about
this
white.
show's about. Me and Tony, and there's some other guys speaking over here. I don't even know.
Oh yeah, more of the
This is a
same.
show about
I speak and
paranormal.
Wolf doesn't listen.
Okay, you're so full of it.
I don't know. Ever since we got rid of his, was it pool noodles? He's been very mouthy.
Well, because he can't hit us anymore. Folks, there was a lot of abuse. The first year that we were together on the show, me and Tony and Armando, too. You're just constantly abused by this guy. Yelling, the throwing of clipboards. If it was a reality show, we could do all kinds of clips of just him throwing a fit.
Yeah, and the fact that the show is much better as a direct result of that.
Oh, my gosh.
It's tough love. I'm sorry. That,
So here we go. Matt Colonel, Susie B, Martha Rourke, Miss Shannon, Pork and Beans, Miguel Guetta, Suji. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people. And we'll probably pick a couple more off of the Paranormal Roundtable group, whatever. So you guys, that's why if you see people take their pictures and they put the pictures of the stuff they won onto the Paranormal Roundtable group, and some people won this, some people won that, that's because we like those other people better. I'm joking. That is absolutely not true. That is because we give away the book, just the book giveaway, and then you get a little couple knickknacks and a few stickers and things like that for going and commenting. This right here is for the hoodies, and I'm going to be honest, we're probably going to give away the hoodies, one more time next week, and that's it?
Yeah, I mean,
moving on.
spring is coming up.
Spring
so.
is coming, and we're going to start giving away our pets.
Yep.
Rabbits, guinea pigs.
Well, someone just asked for truffles, so.
No!
No.
My wife would literally kill me and eat me.
We
if
can
she did
start with Banjo. He pees on everything.
Banjo would be the first to go, and then
we can't.
Baby. We give away Baby first. She has no hair. We'll give away her.
And it doesn't have any teeth. No one's going to
We
want
can't
him.
sell her. Just kidding. I'm going to go to the pool and go, hey, you want to buy a dog? No, I'm just kidding. Folks, we love you. Thank you for tuning in. Our guest, Barton Nunley, also one of my very best friends, the coolest guy. Go check out his video. Go check it out. Take this wheel off here so I can see my arm going crazy. Inflatable arm flailing tube man over here. Inflatable arm flailing tube man. Go check it out. We love you. We hope you go to the conference in another week or so. We should have up the way you can buy tickets for the amazing conference that's going to come up in September. We're looking at about over 20 speakers. It's going to be great. It's going to be awesome to be off the chain, off the hook, off the chain, brother. Look, let me tell you something. When people say off the hook, then they're talking about this is going to be off the hook. What I'm telling you right now, though, go check out Barton's video, listen to it, check it out, do what you got to do. Be prepared because you're going to have to listen to me twice a week once again, okay?
And you
We're
guys
excited.
better.
We're going to get this going again. We have a little time now, work slowed down a little bit, and we're going to start with the recorded episodes again. Once a week, every Tuesday, we're going to drop it like it's hot, and then we're going to do the Friday live stream like we've been doing. And look at this. I'm excited like Eddie. Look at this. See? This is the enemies right here that we've crushed right here, and this is us right here. See that without the British flag though.
We can't show
Kidding,
you guys
just
truffles again because he doesn't like being picked up right now.
Well, he's asleep. So
Yeah.
all right, guys, we'll see you.
Thank you guys.